Hi, and welcome to the A Little Spoon Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a nectarine crisp. It's one of my favorite summer desserts. It's really simple and easy to put together, and then it has about an hour-long bake in the oven, and you're ready to go with a big scoop of ice cream, and it's wonderful for potlucks, wonderful for just kind of whipping something up and having it. You can make it in advance, which is also great, and then just reheat it day of. And yeah, let's just get started because I'm gonna get cooking. We're gonna go. So the first thing that you wanna do, for those of you who are cooking with me today, this is a cook-along. If you are here, you may have been part of kind of our live, and now we've got our full video going right now. If you're cooking with me, then we're going to start our topping first. And what we're going to do is we're going to put together, let's see, we've got oats, we've got flour, okay, we've got some sugar, we have some of our spices and salt and stuff like that that goes into it. And we're also going to need to get our butter, which I have in the refrigerator. You want to use chilled butter for this. So I'm going to grab that real quick. Okay. And then what we're going to do, I don't know if you want to pull up the little guy camera. What we want to do is we want to preheat our oven to 450 to get it going. I want to have it nice and hot so that when we put the crisp in, get out of the way of that view. So when we put the crisp into the oven, it immediately kind of hardens the top and gets it nice and crispy, but it will come down in temperature. So it's kind of like starts at 450, which is 232 Celsius. And then when you put it in the oven, you immediately bring it down to 350, which is 177 degrees Celsius. And then it will bake at 350 or 177 for about an hour. So that temperature does come down, but it gives it a really nice crust and kind of stops it from letting the bottom filling kind of come through the top. So what you want to do is this would be 2 sticks of butter. This is Kerrygold. It's my favorite butter. European style butter is far superior than a lot of the other butters that we can get at the store. I have in the ingredients to use European style butter, but it's basically just because I recipe tested with this butter that I put it in there. You could use like a regular like Land O'Lakes or something like that, and have like more of an American or lower milk fat content butter. It will actually probably be crisper if you use a non-European style butter, because there's so much more water content to kind of steam off and crisp up. That fat kind of can't spread as much. So it may actually end up crisper if you use a different style of butter. But I have not recipe tested with a different style of butter. So you will take your life into your own hands if you decide to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by just cutting this butter up into 1/2 inch or 1.3 centimeter pieces. And I'm actually going to put them on a plate while I'm doing this. The kind of fun thing too about the European style butter is even when it's chilled, you can kind of manipulate the pieces and kind of press it down. I don't know if you can see that. And you can kind of press it down and work it into the topping far easier than you would if you had a bunch of water in the butter. So if you are going to use a non-European style butter, then I would suggest you take it out of the refrigerator, maybe 10 to 15 minutes before you start, just to make sure that it's soft enough that you actually can kind of push it into the topping and like pinch it and move it around in there. Europe has happy cows. Isn't that like a California has happy cows or something like that from the commercials? Oh, for those of you who are here at a non-live time, this is currently being streamed live. So you are going to hear me answering questions and talking to people. I have a chat up here over to my right, so I'll glance over there every now and then because I'm conversing through text, I suppose. Ooh. You couldn't wait to make it to stream. You pre-made this. Well, I'm very glad that you liked it. You were like, look, I saw it. I didn't want to wait for the stream. That's funny. Yeah, so basically we're just breaking it up into pieces, just like this. And I'm just going to set them aside on my plate. And then we're going to put the rest of the ingredients for the topping into a bowl. And then we're going to kind of mush and press and kind of squeeze the butter pieces into that topping. And get that butter really worked in nicely. Okay, let's set this aside. Okay, so we need our bowl. And we're gonna do you know what? I prefer using my, I know we're not technically baking. Like this honestly this recipe, the cool thing about this recipe is it's more like cooking than baking. You don't have anything that needs to rise. There are no leaveners. We're not developing gluten. The ratio can kind of be what you want it to be for the most part. And so it's like a really simple recipe that like you can't mess up very easily. And I still prefer to use my scale because I am me and we are us. But you need about 1.5 cups of brown sugar, which is 300 grams. The cups that you're using with the 1.5 cups of brown sugar, you want them to be packed. Whether or not you use light brown sugar or dark brown sugar, this recipe you can use either. There might be a slight flavor difference just because there's more molasses in dark brown sugar, but it's not going to actually affect a texture or any of that kind of stuff. So let's add, use this. It's just easier for me to weigh things. Using a kitchen scale is like the best thing that you can do to have consistency and for things to always kind of like taste the way that you intended them to taste. Light and dark brown sugars in the same container. Actually, no, they're both light brown sugar. One is just old and I didn't feel like taking it out. I just poured on top of it. So that's what happens when your light brown sugar stays too long in a container and dries out. It changes color. Okay, then we need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, which is essentially 120 grams. So we'll zero that out. Come on. Okay. And now we're going to move on to our oats. I like Bob's Red Mill oats. I keep that in the house. I use King Arthur flour, Bob's Red Mill oats. I did use, for anybody who is here and wants to do this gluten-free, I am going to put flour into this topping mix, but you do not have to do that. And I will give the ingredients to make this a gluten-free recipe when I get there. So just stick with me. I probably should have introduced this as hey, you can make this recipe, but you can also make it gluten-free. You can also make it vegan if you want. The only thing that you need to change is the butter. You just need to get a vegan butter, and then this whole thing is vegan. So, yay. Fun. Okay, so it's about 1.5 cups of old-fashioned oats, and that's about 160 grams. So again, we're just gonna dump until we get there. Most oats are gluten-free. But if you are planning on purchasing oats, just make sure that it says on the packaging that it is gluten-free, because sometimes there's like other stuffs in it, or it's in a factory that processes other things that have gluten, and so like the packaging will typically say like gluten-free or something like that on it. So like make sure that you're paying attention to that. Though if you are cooking gluten-free and you're looking for recipes that are gluten-free, you probably already know that. But I'm just, fair warning, be careful. Be careful out there. Especially if you have actual like full-blown celiac or something like that. Now we need to do our flour. So the regular recipe calls for 1.5 cups or about 200 grams of all-purpose flour. If you plan to do a gluten-free version of this, because I did test it, what you're going to want to do is you're going to replace the some of the flour with a 1-to-1. Here, I pulled the ingredients. Oh. You can do this a couple of different ways. This is what I did, and it is an instruction or an FAQ in the web post online. So if you go to alittlespoon.com and you look for this recipe, in the FAQs it'll say like, can I make this gluten-free? And that's where this is. So you're gonna I use Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking mix. You probably have this in your house. This is by far the most popular baking mix, not a gluten-free baking mix out there for flour as like a substitute. The issue with completely doing like a 1-to-1 this flour to this flour is that most of this is made up of really starchy flour, so like tapioca flour and rice flour and stuff like that. And that's not, it doesn't have enough structure and enough ability to stay solid when it meets the liquid filling, and so it kind of dissolves. And so you still want some of this in there, because you're gonna want something to kind of like pull in that moisture, hold everything together, but you also need some flours that are gonna be a little more structurally sound. So what I did was I used corn flour. So I've got some Maseca here. You can get another brand if you like Pan or something like that, that's fine. And then I also have almond flour. If you want to completely skip getting this, you're welcome to use just the almond flour. Sometimes almond flour can kind of put a little bit too much of that almond flavor into stuff, and it can kind of throw off of the flavor. So that's why I kind of did a little bit of both the corn and the almond. And I found the corn to actually be really nice with the Nectarine crisp. You can also get oat flour, or you can just, oat flour. So you can just take your oats and you can grind them down, and that will also add some structure. So if you wanted to do like half this and half oat flour and grind this up, you could also presumably do that. But essentially, I've taken this, and you have the same amount of grams of the flour as you do these 3 ingredients. And so essentially, I'm taking the 200 grams that are needed here, and I'm breaking that up into 3, and you get equal parts this, this, and this to equate to your 200. And I do have all of those measurements online. I can say it here as well. I'll say them out loud. Just so if you come back to this video and you don't want to have both things open, you won't. To replace the all-purpose flour, you're doing a 1/2 cup or 70 grams of the gluten-free baking flour. You're doing 2/3 of a cup or 70 grams of the corn flour, and then you're doing 2/3 of a cup or 70 grams of the almond flour. So I hope that helps. And now we're gonna just keep going with the original recipe. So I need 200 grams of all-purpose flour. Everything with garbanzo beans. Do other gluten-free flours have garbanzo bean? Like chickpea flour, right? Is that what we're talking about? Oh, you turned off. I talked so much it turned off. There we go. Okay. So I need 200 grams. Okay. My husband is typing in as me. into the YouTube chat right now, and he says, I heard that if you hit the like button, Carrie will send you home-baked cookies. No, that will not happen. Thank you for suggesting that. Please don't offer that as a thing to people that don't know that that's not me saying it. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just mix this up a little bit. And we're also going to add in our cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves, and then salt. So essentially what you're doing is you're adding everything, all the ingredients for the topping except for the butter at this point. Let's see, we're gonna do some cinnamon. We need about a tablespoon or 4.5, 5 if you really want to add extra cinnamon, grams of cinnamon. I'm just gonna, for the little guys, I'm just gonna use, that is a 1/2 tablespoon. Let's go. I'm just gonna use imperial stuff, kind of. And then cloves. We're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of cloves, of ground cloves. If you really want to, you'll notice that I'm gonna use whole nutmegs, and I'm gonna grate it in. Nutmeg is just so much of a stronger flavor when it's really fresh. I feel like you can kind of get away with the power of the ingredient, of the flavor when it comes to cinnamon and cloves. They're pretty strong in general. But nutmeg I feel like it really just loses its flavor the longer that it sits, especially like if you buy it pre-ground. So I prefer to always use like a microplane or a fine grater for my nutmeg. If you want to, you could toast all of your ingredients, or you can just like fresh grind everything with like a mortar and pestle or a spice grinder, coffee grinder. I do actually do that when I make masala chai. So I have like a mix that I have that I like make and everything like that for tea. And I will like take whole spices and I'll grind them down for something like that. But when it comes to baking, sometimes I will just pre-grind and then like have these little containers for this kind of stuff. I already did this. Okay, nutmeg. So we're doing a teaspoon of nutmeg, and that is going to be quite a bit. A teaspoon of nutmeg is about 0.7 grams. Let's get a bigger guy. So I'm actually going to zero this out, and I'm going to use that measurement because it's easier than me grating and trying to figure out how to fit all of it into a measuring spoon. This might take a while. The final shape is Nectarine Crumble. Actually, see, I'm trying to save topics. Whoop. I'm trying to save topics. Not looking at what I'm doing. For the 30 minutes that this thing is going to be in the oven, where I'm not going to be doing anything. But I guess we can talk about it. A crisp has oats, a crumble does not. So that is plenty. This is not showing up on my scale, but that is plenty. So when you are when you're doing like different kind of desserts, like casserole desserts, right? You think of cobblers and crisp and crumbles, maybe buckles, if anybody's heard of a buckle before. So a cobbler is kind of like a biscuit-like dough, scone-like dough that goes on top of your filling and then bakes. That smells really good. And bakes. And then those, you kind of get like a bready kind of texture on top. You don't get that crunch that you would get from a crisp or a crumble. A crumble is specifically flour, sugar, and butter. And that kind of gets like a streusel topping or like a coffee cake topping or something like that. And that gets nice and kind of crisp, but not as crisp as it does if you make a crisp. When you make a crisp, you add in your maybe nuts, but typically it's oats. And then like if you want to add anything else, it kind of, once it has oats, it remains a crisp. And so that is why this is a crisp and not a crumble. And then a buckle is literally putting like whole pieces of fruit into a kind of like cake batter. You kind of put them in, and it's called a buckle because that filling then buckles the cake and it kind of sinks down in the center. Some pieces will go up, and then where there's fruit, it'll kind of like sink a little bit. And that is another kind of fruit filling and topping / cake dough something or other batter that's similar to these. Okay, and then the last thing is a teaspoon or about 2.4 grams of kosher salt. I use Diamond Crystal kosher salt. If you are using Morton salt, please weigh your salt. Otherwise, you are going to oversalt. Morton salt is about like 30% saltier than Diamond Crystal. So please be careful out there. If you are not using the exact brand of salt that somebody suggests when they actually give a brand, I would tell you to please weigh it. The crystal structures are different. It's denser. Morton is denser than Diamond Crystal, and so it's just a saltier flavor if you're going by volume or like imperial measurements, like the cups and the teaspoons and things like that. One last mix, and then we can add our butter. Okay. So now I'm just gonna dump this in. That's a good tip. Yeah, but salt can really mess up a meal sometimes. I do find because Diamond Crystal's structure is a little flakier than Morton's, it's more forgiving if you add too much salt. Like it's usually like much more forgiving, and then you can kind of tweak and balance it easier than you can if you're trying to like fix something that you maybe oversalted with like Morton salt or something with a denser crystal, like iodized salt or something like that, like a table salt. That can be really rough to try to fix. Need one of those whisk cleaner things. Attach the handle and scrape everything off. I have seen those, and I fully support that. So there's a whisk attachment. So like if you're doing, buttercream or making marshmallows or something like that, essentially what it does, it's a piece of plastic that you fit above the top of the whisk, and then you turn it on, just like normal, go about your day, make whatever you're making, and then when you're done, you pull that plastic piece down, and it's fitted specifically for all of the kind of spokes of the whisk, and it just like completely takes all of that right off, and you're not like sitting there trying to figure out how to like get in and get all of that stuff that's wrapped around the whisk out of it. Yeah. It doesn't work with French whisks. Oh no! Is a crumble like when you use a box cake mix with butter on top for fruit filling? No, that is a dump cake. Ooh, maybe I should go back into this blog post and add that to another thing. So in the blog post, I talk about the difference between crisps and crumbles and all of that, and I did not add dump cake, but that's a really good one. Dump cakes are delicious. I have a recipe for a dump cake that I use. It's not on the website. It's not on Instagram. I just make it every now and then, typically for like Thanksgiving. That is pumpkin pie filling, or like pumpkin, essentially like pureed pumpkin, right? And you're basically making a pumpkin pie custard, right? So like the filling of a pumpkin pie, but then you're putting a spiced cake mix on top of it for a dump cake. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so much better. I can't say this. I shouldn't say it's better than pumpkin pie. That'd be un-American. I've had some very good pumpkin pies that are in fact better than this cake, but a lot of pumpkin pies are like very much a miss for me. And so this dump cake hits all in all the right ways. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just kind of taking the pieces and I'm mushing them up, making sure that they're getting coated in this flour mixture. And then I'll probably start doing something like this and just kind of moving it around. And you want to have this, the flour will start to absorb the moisture from the butter. And it's going to actually change color. And it will darken up quite a bit and look kind of like shaggy and moist. You're going to lose all of those loose bits of flour. And that's what we're looking for. And I'm sure once we get there, I will show it to the camera. If you cannot already see, this is where we are. We're probably about halfway. What? And you don't want to have any big pieces like this. Like you want them to be smaller. You can get them about to the size of a pea. Like we're not looking for a completely uniform mixture. You do want to see kind of pieces, but we don't want really big pieces of butter. That's kind of what we're breaking down to. Was the bowl invisible? That's really funny. We have, oh, okay, so for those of you who are watching and just saw a green bowl appear on stream, but that's not going to happen in the recording though, will it? Yeah? Okay, so for those of you who are watching this video and just saw a green bowl appear that was previously like a black color, we're using my husband's setup. He streams content online, and he has a green screen in his office that he uses so that he can like have stuff behind him, and that was keying out the green in the bowl, and so that bowl was black until we turned off the filter, and now you can see it better. That's really funny. It's like witchcraft. This is one of the consequences of doing things live, right? Okay, so this is about where we want it. So you can see that it's gotten like a darker brown color. And I still have some pieces here and there, right, of butter. You can still see that. There's definitely texture here. And it's going to feel not like dry. You're going to feel kind of like a little bit of a moisture kind of traveling through the whole thing. And so that's that. Oh, wait, that's that. I still have butter here. I didn't get it all in. I was looking at it going, usually it feels even a little bit more than that. How about we add all the butter live? My ADHD forgot it existed. Yeah, my hair definitely, when I'm sitting on stream with Chuck, with my husband, you can't see the blue hair nearly as well because of the black or the green reflecting behind us, and then the lighting is all front lighting, so you don't get the blue. You definitely can't see it in his room in the same way. Thank you. I really like this too. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing or anything in general, honestly? Okay, so I'm just kind of smushing up the pieces, flattening them up, making sure that I'm getting the flour mixture kind of hitting all of that surface area. Is this adaptable to another fruit? Yes. What are we making? Cobbler. We are making a crisp. So a cobbler is like a biscuit or a scone batter that gets put on top of a fruit filling. So you get kind of like a bready texture on top, like a bready cakey texture. This is going to be a crisp. It has oats. It's kind of like streusel topping with oats, and so it gets really crispy. which is not the same thing that you would have if you had a cobbler. So there is a bit of a difference. The flavor is probably pretty similar, but the texture will be different. And then you can adapt this to other fruit. You like that better? Crisp is a better texture? Me too. Do you say you're not a big fan of nectarine? Okay. So you can do essentially any other stone fruit and it will work just fine. I do have, I think, a whole section on the website at alittlespoon.com. You go to this recipe, there is a section about replacing it with other fruit. The thing that you have to consider when you're replacing other fruit is how much moisture they're going to give off when you bake the filling. So you could do something like apricots or plums. You could do cherries would be another really good one. You might need to add a little bit more cornstarch to the filling when you go to make the filling, just to make sure that it kind of solidifies a little bit more and you don't get kind of like a soupy bottom because you want it to set a little bit and kind of gel up. So you might need to like mess around a little bit with that. But I gave some kind of baseline guides to go off of for how much cornstarch you might want to add depending on what you're doing. If you didn't want this to be just nectarine, which I know you just said that you don't really like nectarines, but for somebody who might want to add a little bit more to this, you could add something like cherries and do, 3/4 of this is nectarine and then 1/4 of it is cherries or something like that, just to add like a little bit of different color or flavor or something like that. All right, this is about ready. What's a stone fruit? A stone fruit is a fruit with that pit in the middle. That is what it is. They call it a stone. So the pit in the middle of a plum, in the middle of a cherry, in the middle of a nectarine or a peach or an apricot, those are all stone fruits. Avocado. I don't know. I feel like that is a stone fruit. That was a good, maybe. I think it might be. I would have to Google that, I think. Does anybody want to Google that for us so that we can have the answer before the stream is over? I'm pretty sure it would be considered a stone fruit.
Is an avocado a stone fruit?
It might surprise you that they meet all the criteria of a berry, as avocados are fleshy throughout. They don't qualify as stone fruit.
Oh, okay.
They have a fleshy exterior and a hard pit like peaches.
Okay, it needs to have
Fleshy exterior.
It needs to have a thin like peel that's kind of, I guess, that's kind of a weird word to use, fleshy. A fleshy skin.
I want to eat fleshy.
So the skin's too hard for it to be considered a stone fruit. But it's pretty dang close. It is a berry.
Yep.
There's no such thing as vegetables. Oh gosh, okay. So you can see this is definitely changed in color. You no longer have that sandy texture. I've got nice bits of butter that you can see still in here, right? We don't want this to be a uniform texture. Okay, and then that's that. Now you will notice this is a ton of topping. That was on purpose. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick and then I will come back and talk with you guys. Let me just quick rinse. Because I've got butter all over my fingers now. Okay. And I forgot what I was saying. I did a double topping. I do double toppings on my crisp recipes and my crumble recipes because I absolutely hate soupy desserts. It is a textural thing for me, something that I can't help. I apologize if you are that person that really likes like an apple pie that's just like soup or like the fruited pies. I don't really care for fruited pies. I don't like the texture of them. And a lot of the times for me, when I make crisps or I'm making crumbles or things like that from other people's recipes, I always find that I'm lacking the thickness of a crust and the crispiness of whatever serving I'm getting. And I feel like I'm eating ice cream with just like stewed fruit, and that's like not my favorite. So this recipe doubles the topping on purpose. So you have almost a 50-50 ratio of filling to topping. That's how I prefer it. If you don't want that, if you don't want like a thick topping, you could just have this, and then you'll just have kind of that like single layer that has kind of bubbles and stuff kind of coming up through it, and you get like some parts that are kind of like, you know, soupier than other parts and stuff like that. Like if you are a thin, crispy person and you really like the texture of the filling, you don't want that double topping, just have the topping amount, and then you'll be good to go. Okay, sorry, veggies don't exist. No, they don't. No.
What?
Vegetables don't exist.
Oh, scientifically.
Scientifically, veggies don't exist.
That's why I don't believe in science.
That's why you don't believe in science. No. Okay, topping is done. This is going to go into a refrigerator just to chill and make sure that the butter kind of stiffens up a little bit more so that when it goes into the oven, it doesn't immediately melt. It maintains its structure a lot better, and it will stay crisper during the baking process. I'm going to give this to my husband so that he can put it into our refrigerator because I want to keep cooking with you guys. Okay. Huh? Yeah, no, not in the oven. Don't put it in the oven. He's like, put it in the oven. No. Number one, that bowl would melt. Essentially, vegetables, or what we consider vegetables, I guess, are based off of flavoring. I don't know how we decided, but they're just parts of a plant. So you have like tuber or roots, stalks and stems, leaves and flowers, and then fruit is kind of like the berry or the fruit part of the plant. But broccoli is just a flower, celery is a stalk, kale and spinach are leaves. You've got onions are like, I guess that's like a tuber. Carrots are roots. They're just all parts of a plant. Yay, the more we know. Okay, filling. We're doing the filling now. Okay, so I have, probably gonna have to set this up in an interesting way. I am going to kind of do two things today for the filling. I know some people don't like the skin of the peaches and nectarines. That is okay. You can remove them. And I do have that in the recipe. I don't know if I wrote it in the instructions or if it's in the FAQ section. I don't remember how I organized that. But essentially what you can do is you can blanch these and take the peel right off. And then you don't have to worry about that being in there. I will say that they don't stay intact very much, especially nectarines. Like peaches will stay a little more intact than the nectarines, just because their skin is a little thicker. But they essentially dissolve into the filling as they're baking. So it's not a textural thing that you're gonna have, which is why I kind of don't care and will just put them in as is. I don't typically take the skins off. But if you want that kind of like bright yellow base of the filling, then you are gonna have to take the skins off because the skins obviously are not just yellow, and they will turn your filling into a like burgundy, mahogany, reddish kind of color. So it really just depends on what you want it to look like. The skins also do provide a little bit more pectin than you would have without the skins. So it will be a little bit of a more set filling than it will be if you took the skins off. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. And that's really up to you. And I have all 10 of my nectarines here, but I did also get a peach just so that I could show me taking the skin off of a peach as well. So you can kind of see both things. But I have an induction cooktop over here, and I'm going to show you guys how to peel a couple of these. I'm probably only going to do like 2 of them, and then I'll kind of go through the rest of the recipe making the filling with the skins on. And you can kind of pick and choose whichever one you want to do. It's up to you. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to clean that up a little bit. I'm actually going to make the first part of the filling. It's essentially just a couple of ingredients that we then cut our nectarines up and then toss them to kind of coat it. Then we're gonna make a cornstarch slurry with cornstarch and lemon juice and kind of recoat, and then that becomes the base of our filling. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and actually let's do that. Sorry, apologies. And we're gonna start adding these ingredients. So we've got brown sugar again. Got 60 grams of brown sugar, which is essentially a half a cup packed. I'm gonna bring my kitchen scale back out. Okay. You see a sticker? Yeah, they're probably on there. I don't even know. Where do you see a sticker? I thought I took them all off. Oh, goodness. Do we? Somebody's joking with me. I was going to say, I thought that I took care of all of these. Okay, well, joke's on me for listening to chat. Oh, thanks, Forever. Forever Blue says, my partner is watching this on our TV, and she loves how you present your stuff and how you explain it all. I appreciate that. Thank you. I try very hard to know as much as I possibly can to make things easier on people who want to learn how to do all of these things. Chat is always right. Honestly, I asked, there's a sticker on the microwave. I don't see that either. Oh, this guy? That's actually a magnet. This is my husband. There are about 100 or so of these floating around people's houses all over the country. It was a joke that turned into a meme that turned into legend status. So you can't just say there's a sticker. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you for clarifying, though. I do appreciate the clarification. Okay. So now we've got our brown sugar. We're going to do 2 tablespoons or about 28 grams of granulated sugar. And I will probably use this just for, come on. Okay. Yeah, I did. I said microwave and I looked at the oven. I did do that. I was like, no, these are all magnets. Well, because I was wondering, like, sticker on some appliance in my house, and I couldn't figure that out. So yeah, I thought, went to the wrong place. Okay, we're going to do some flour now for the filling. Okay, this is coming back to us here. The Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 flour mix. That can be used in the filling, right? So we kind of talked about this earlier for gluten-free, is that is not great for the holding structure and staying crisp the way we need it in that topping. But in a filling, you want to kind of have it be dissolvable and starchy and create like kind of that like a gelled kind of texture, which that is great for. So you can 100% just like 1-to-1. If you don't want to use all-purpose flour and you are gluten-free, you can just switch to that mix and just kind of interchange them for the filling. Okay. Okay. So we need a 1/4 cup of this, about 32 grams. Okay. Replace I'm running out of flour. Okay. And then we're going to do a teaspoon or 1.5 grams of ground cinnamon. Can't even see in the bowl. There you go. Once I add the nectarines, we'll be able to see a little bit better into this. It's just a really tall bowl. And then we're going to be doing a half a teaspoon of the Diamond Crystal kosher salt. We're going to whisk this up and just get everything nice and mixed. And then we're going to add some zest in here. We're going to add the zest of about half of a lemon. Just for a little added freshness. I really like lemon zest. I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of get it into the mixture, and we're going to rub kind of the same way that you made the topping. You're going to kind of pinch and rub the zest into our filling mixture here. And essentially what we're doing is we're just making sure that the sugar that we put in here, that granulated sugar, is going to pull some of the oils out of the zest. You'll notice this in a lot of other recipes that are like olive oil cakes and cookies, and that are like lemon or orange or something like that, where they'll have you do like a bunch of zest and then sit there and kind of pinch and rub the sugar and the zest together before you start adding in your other ingredients like your flour and your eggs and stuff like that. And that is specifically to pull the oil out of the zest, out of the peel. It gives it a more pronounced flavor. It makes sure that the flavor evenly incorporates through the whole product. And don't worry, this zest does dissolve as it bakes. So you're not going to get like random pieces of zest. That doesn't happen. Okay. We're going to set this aside, and we're going to work on our nectarines. So for some of you may have gotten lucky and you live in a place where you can get freestone peaches whenever you want. Not whenever you want, during the summer when they're in season. Please buy seasonal. And I do not have the luxury of that. I get whatever I can get in my local stores, and only do freestone peaches or nectarines come in to our supermarkets probably late July, early August, which is kind of sad because they're just so much easier to work with. But we're going to work with what we have, and that's okay. And so now you get to see the hard part of this process. And if you get freestone, everything will just be easier. And I will explain what that is in just a second if you don't know what that is. So a freestone peach or nectarine essentially means that the fruit comes away from the stone freely. These aren't doing that. These, for whatever reason, split completely in half every time that I do this. I don't know what brand this is, but as you can see, like I can't, let's see, every time this way, then this way. Yes. Get me centered in there. You see, I can't remove that stone from inside from the flesh. So a freestone peach, if I cut down that middle and went like this and then pulled it apart, the stone would completely come out on one side. So like this would be empty. You wouldn't have this half of a pit here, and actually, I guess for those of you who may want to know this, these are not intact well enough. But this here, if it actually was whole and not, I guess, old, that's what you would plant. So this is the pit that goes around the seed. The seed is what you plant. If you plan on planting a peach tree, don't just put the whole pit in the ground. You actually need to open it up and take that seed out, and that's what gets planted or germinated and then planted, or however you want to do that. But this will not come out, and so you kind of have to work around that. If you have a freestone peach, that stone can just kind of get pulled out, and then you have a flat surface, and you can just cut your wedges out with ease. When you don't have that, you kind of have to work around that. And so the way that I do that is I will kind of just cut my wedges at an angle all the way down to that pit, and then I will wedge them apart. and kind of just pull it off like this. And so you have to kind of go piece by piece. It takes away the amount of surface area that's connected to that peach. So like when you think about, say you want to hang a picture in your house. Your kid brings home a piece of paper that is like ginormous. They paint it at school and they want to hang it on their door or whatever. If you put a single piece of tape in the middle of that paper and then tried to hang it, there's a really good chance that that weight would just pull the whole thing off the wall. But if you spread the tape out, it kind of holds all of that. And so what we're essentially doing is we're taking that picture that has all of that tape, all of that surface, that sticky surface that's holding it against the wall, and we're getting rid of it so that each part only has one piece of tape. You have far less touching that pit and holding it. You can't just remove the whole thing in big pieces, but if you remove them a little at a time, that's obviously way easier. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're just tossing these into our bowl like that. And we're going to do this for just a couple more. So I say that it's probably about 9 to 10 nectarines to do this. You might need more, you might need less. It's kind of just my go-to. Again, like this isn't really baking in the sense of baking. Like you're not going to destroy something if you have a little too much or a little too few nectarines or peaches. That's it's been it's like the shape of the size of a tennis ball. If you have anything bigger than that, you probably need less. If they're super small, you probably need more. If you use something like an apricot, you're obviously going to need more. If you are going to go off of grams, this one stayed intact. Okay, see, so like this is not a freestone peach. You can see that I'm twisting, and it is not breaking away from that pit. So essentially what I'm going to do for this one, because this one didn't even split in half, this one's like even more hard to kind of do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those same wedges. I'm going to force out one of them, and it might mess up a little bit of the flesh, but it's only going to be on one. And then once you have one out, then you kind of just do the same thing, right? So we have our wedges, and we're just kind of pulling individual pieces away from that pit. Can you substitute this recipe for apple or other fruits? You can. I'm not sure apple would work in this one. I'm not sure if apple would work here. I would need to do some research on that. I could probably get back to you, Ortho, just because I know you outside of this stream. You'd have to look into moisture content and pectin to see how your filling will set. You could probably just do it. But I would also think that it might need longer bake time just because apples are, they're much harder fruit and it's not going to break down during baking as much. So you might still have, like, it's not going to be kind of like a stewed finish. You might have to kind of pre-cook. Like I almost would suggest that if you kind of pre-cook down your apples with the sugar and the cinnamon, and then kind of make them into the filling to make sure that you end up with a texture similar to this nectarine crisp by the time it's done baking, if that makes sense. It's probably your best bet. Oh, this one didn't come away either. Again. I'm so sad they're not freestone peaches or nectarines. They're so much easier when you can just pull right apart from the pit. There we go. And I wouldn't worry either, like, if you didn't have, like if you have pieces that are kind of sticking here, this one has a couple, I'll show you. That came off pretty well. So I had a part kind of that broke off here at the top. Just toss it in. Like it's not going to hurt anything. You want to have some kind of larger wedges, but the smaller pieces aren't going to do anything but turn into just more filling. And then you'll still have these bigger pieces in there, and it'll all be fine. I promise. You totally understand? Oh, good. Okay, Ortho. I'm glad. I'm glad that was helpful. Yes, I understood some of those words. If you have a question about any of what I just said, I'm sure I can delve further into it. A lot of these aren't coming off the way that the first one did. Okay. This will be harder to do. I'm like, fair warning, right? If you have really, really ripe peaches and they are not freestone peaches, this is going to be difficult to do because you're adding not a lot of pressure, but you're adding enough pressure that you might like mush or bruise some of that fruit. That's also not a huge deal. Again, we are literally turning this into goop in the bottom of our dessert. So whether or not you bruised it before it goes in is not a huge deal. You obviously don't want to turn it into a pulp. Like you want to have some structure. But if you have a couple that get bruised while you're making space to kind of get the rest of the wedges out, that first one, for instance, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There is another way that you can do this. I'll show you. I'll show you another way to cut. I have it in the recipe that you can cut it this way. I don't prefer this way just because you're not getting like all of the surface area. You're not getting like all of that fruit. But if you really wanted to, you could also just like find the pit and cut around it. But you'll see like I lose a lot of the fruit when I do it that way. Oh God, I don't know if anybody just saw what I just did. I don't think they did. That was off. I'll do another one. That was off camera. I don't even know. Thought it was. I don't know if anybody saw that. But then you have a flat surface and you have your pieces and they just go in, make your little wedges, kind of like that. But then you have like this whole bottom didn't come off. Some of the top is not in there. So yeah. Should I cut that again? Chat, do you want me to cut that again? This can be, I would tell you to use this if you're finding that it's really difficult, like if you don't have freestone peaches or nectarines, and you're finding that doing the wedges individually is like really getting like mushed up because your nectarines are super ripe. Using nectarines that you can kind of push down into and you can feel the flesh kind of give a little bit is a good place to have it. I wouldn't use like apple textured nectarines. You want them to be riper than that because the riper they are, the sweeter it is, right? So those sugars are kind of breaking down. You've got your enzymatic processes going on inside as it's ripening, and it's breaking down into your sucrose and your fructose, and you want to make sure that you have a lot of that flavor unless you want to have like a really tart one, a really tart crisp. That's also fine. But the riper it is, the sweeter it's going to be. And so you don't want it to be like as hard as say like an apple would be. You want it to be more ripe than that. But if it's like so ripe that it's just like you can't get those wedges out, it's turning into pulp in your hands, then this way is the best way. I'll go ahead and I'll I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut another one of these. I don't know, I think I kind of cut the last one like somewhere over here and it was a little off camera. So we're gonna do one more in that way. And basically what you do is you're gonna just kind of hold it around on one side, right? And you're gonna try to lift as you cut down. So you're not, because if you kind of pushed, you'd smush the bottom here, and we don't wanna do that. So you're gonna kind of lift one side while you push down on the other. And you're just gonna go around the pit like that, okay? And so again, you're just gonna hold on and you're gonna kind of go around the pit like that. There we go. Okay. So now these two are done. And then you're gonna lay them flat side down so that you're safe in the kitchen. Don't like to cut things that are circular. They can be a little scary. Okay, and then they're gonna go in. So if you have a really ripe fruit, like even though you're not getting all of the fruit off of your pit and you've got a little bit of the top and the bottom kind of still hanging out, it will be a better tactic for you to cut your slices off if it's ripe, without like turning your filling into soup before it even starts to bake. Okay, we'll do just a handful more. And that actually like is pretty fast, right? So like that's, if you really like need to save time, so like a really fast way to do that. Nectarines are underrated. I fully support that message. They're so good. Peaches, no. Peaches, the skin is too thick. Actually, peaches and nectarines are the same thing. That's why I keep saying peaches or nectarines. They're interchangeable. The only difference between a peach and a nectarine is that they genetically changed nectarines to not have the fuzzy skin. It's the only difference. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do this last one, and then I am going to show you guys how to blanch. Your nectarines or your peaches to take the skin off of them. Okay, so I'm going to move this to the side. And we're going to bring over an induction cooktop. Actually, okay. We're gonna fill up a pot of water, and you're gonna wanna fill it up. I'm totally disembodied voice off screen right now. You're gonna wanna fill it up until you know that when you put your nectarines or your peaches into the water, your apricots, whatever you're wanting to peel, that they are gonna be fully submerged when you put them in. Okay, and then we are going to also get another bowl, right? So if you're blanching, you're boiling for a very short period of time and then immediately cooling and chilling whatever it was that you put into your pot into an ice bath. Yeah, outlets on the island were a solid choice. They wanted to do the pop-up ones that are like really popular, I guess, or were popular at the time we built this house. And I did not want the top to be like disrupted in any way. So I was like, can you put them in like the sides? And it was a good choice. Okay. So we've got a bowl of water that I'm going to get some ice for. Ouch. I guess we'll use some bagged ice. Okay. Invisible chest. Yeah. Is there a particular reason not to blanch and peel fruit before cutting it up? Whoops, lost one. I am blanching and peeling before cutting it up. So I prefer the skin on in a crisp or a crumble. For nectarines specifically, I prefer the skin. It adds extra flavor. It adds extra pectin because you do have the peach flavor and the nectarine flavor in the skin. And so you get a little bit of extra flavor. You get a little extra pectin for the filling to kind of set a little bit more. So I actually prefer to leave the skin on. So I've done this because this is how I like it. But if you don't want to have the skins on, I'm kind of just showing you how to take them off. And you will be blanching them first, and then you will be cutting them. So I'm kind of just gonna blanch these 3, and you can pretend like if I had done all of these this way, this is how it would go. So this is just like a demo for anybody who wants to do this without these skins on. All right, so let's get this boiling. It might be loud. It gets loud. So yeah, that's a horrible sound. We're gonna turn the power down a little bit. We're gonna get that boiling. You thought you were going to blanch the ones you had already sliced. No, I'm not going to do that because that would cook the inside of the fruit, and there's so much surface area that it would not be a good idea. You blanch the whole fruit, and then the tricky part of blanching and then attempting to slice is like, and you'll obviously see this when I start doing it. What's the matter? Oh, okay. Is that the peel really wants to slip free, but it's going to be easier for you and more safe for you to try to keep that skin on for as long as possible while you're slicing, because once the skin is off, it can get really slippery. And if you don't have freestone peaches, attempting to slice when something is slippery can be a little terrifying. And so, yeah, blanching and then attempting to cut your fruit before you take the peel off is like the way to go. Don't peel first and then start slicing. That's not the best. Not the safest tactic. Hey, Lindsay, you weren't able to cook along. That's okay. We're glad you're here. Hang out, ask questions. I will try to help you learn as much as you want if you want to come back at a later time and make this whenever you want. Do I salt to taste or salt to volume weight? I am not salting the water. God, I'm being found out. I typically taste or salt to taste for most things, but when I'm coming up with recipes, I will develop ratios to use. Am I a little blurry because I backed up? I will develop ratios to use when you're doing something like salting water for rice or pasta or something like that. And I believe I use 2 tablespoons per 12 cups of water. I don't know what that is. I apologize for those of you who are in metric. I would have to sit and do the calculated weight and volume of all those things. But I think that is the ratio that I use when it comes to salting water for pasta water. Okay, we're almost boiling already. This is why I love induction. Two tablespoons of what brand? I use Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt. And Zelloferis, thank you for using different brands of salt differently. I appreciate you very much. We talked a little bit about this earlier. I use Diamond Crystal Kosher Salt almost exclusively in the house unless I'm finishing something. I like the crystalline structure in the Diamond Crystal. It's flakier, it's more forgiving if you oversalt by accident, and should definitely use different salts for different reasons, and also weigh your salt if you're changing brands, because the weight is the only thing that is going to give you the correct amount of salt. Volume is not a great way to measure salt between different brands. Please. If a brand of salt is given, please use that brand. Or weigh your salt. I think somebody asked me a question earlier. I'm going to go back. Have the kids shown any interest in cooking or wanting to help in the kitchen? My daughter sometimes does, but she really just wants to be a part of the messy stuff. She likes to pour. She likes to get her hands into things, and she likes to lick batter off spoons. Sometimes I can get her to do repetitive tasks. When she was very little, she helped me prep Thanksgiving by picking thyme off of the little stalks, and she picked for 35 minutes, was picking thyme leaves off of stalks for me so that I could make our stuffing, which was great. I don't think she would do that now. I think she's grown out of my ability to give her a task that she will just sit with for longer than 10 minutes, but she likes to pop in and out. My son has not shown an interest. That's okay. Maybe eventually. There's still hope. There's always hope. Batter off spoons is the best part. It's also, I will be held liable. I do have to say, don't eat the batter off of spoons. Don't do it. It has uncooked flour and uncooked eggs and can be dangerous and have bacterial issues that you don't want to have in your body. But it tastes really good, and so you're holding your fate in your hands every time you do that. That's the best part. No, I know. Sometimes people can get me to do repetitive tasks. I love repetitive tasks. People ask me a lot what my favorite thing to make is, and I always say some kind of dumpling. I just love the conveyor belt style of doing things. Okay, we are finally boiling. Where you have your filling, have your water, have your dough, have your whatever, and you just kind of make and go. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's so relaxing, and I love it. Have I done anything with international dishes like German food or something complex? Yes. There's quite a bit of that on my website. I'll say it one more time. I've already said it 2 or 3 times. So I feel weird saying it again, but I feel like it's just easier if I say it exactly when we're talking about stuff. alittlespoon.com. I have a couple of my Polish, I'm Polish, and I have a couple of family recipes that are in there. We have a cream of mushroom soup that we do every Christmas. That's pretty complex. No, I wouldn't say. I don't know how to say that. It's not complex. The flavors are complex. The recipe is literally from scratch. So you're making mushroom stock, you're making beef stock, and then you've got all of the other things that kind of go into it. So it is time consuming, but nothing is it's not any more than anybody making a soup. It's essentially you're just making a soup. It's just I've listed everything from scratch. The same thing with, I have my pierogi recipe in there, the dough, and then 3 options for 3 fillings, one of which is not traditional, but it's kind of a family favorite that we've been doing every year. I've got a Neapolitan style pizza. I have some gyoza, so there's some pork gyoza on there. I just did a pozole. We did pozole verde, and I actually went through the whole process of nixtamalizing corn so that I could write about it. So like all of that is in there, along with like, hey, if you don't want to nixtamalize your own corn, here are other options. So there's a lot going on. But yeah, I have a ton of international items that are on the website. There's some Greek cookies. There's some Canadian butter tarts. There's a bunch of stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to get something so that I'm not splashing myself. We're going to get a spoon. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to just kind of drop them in gently. These are going to sit for about a minute to a minute and a half in our water. And you'll see them kind of dull a little bit, like the skin will kind of lose a little bit of that pigmentation, and they'll dull down. They'll get bright, and then they'll dull down a bit. Be gentle. Well, I mean, you don't want to get splashed with boiling water, right? So slotted spoons or spiders or something like that. These are almost done. And they're going to go right from this immediately into our ice bath because you want to stop it cooking, right? So we don't want to cook. We don't want to cook the internal fruit. We want to cook essentially just this layer, like a very tiny, tiny layer along the lip, sure, why not, of the peel, so that the peel will come free from the flesh of the fruit. Okay. Oh no. Okay, well, I guess it's time. My induction cooktop decided to turn off because it was hot. Sure. Okay. So now we're just going to move them over. Now, I feel like these are probably fine. The water wasn't fully boiling. Well, I mean, it was boiling, but it wasn't like a rolling boil. Something of interest, I don't know if anybody cares about this or not. Once water hits boiling temperature, it never gets hotter. It stays the same temperature. It doesn't matter if it is a rolling boil. It doesn't matter if it is just a couple of little tiny bubbles. It is always the same. Until there is no more water, and then the metal gets really hot, and you burn a pot. Okay. So yeah, 212 Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius. Your water is going to start to boil, and then it will stay. That's actually a really good question. How did you come up with the name for your Instagram and site, A Little Spoon? So it was actually my gamer tag. I went by A Little Spoon for many, many years. And when I was trying to come up with an idea for what I was going to brand myself as and name myself, I wrote a ginormous list with a bunch of different like cooking terms and things that I thought pertained to me, and was trying to come up with something. And I was like, I don't know, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? And my husband was like, why don't you just do A Little Spoon? Like, you already use it and it's kitchen. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is an excellent idea. And so that's what I did. Carrie Lore, yep. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is essentially the same thing that we did previously. I'm honestly not sure if these cooked enough. I don't think that they did. I don't think my water got hot enough. I might have to re-peel these or redo this on my actual stovetop. That induction cooktop did not boil. Let's see. Nope, we're still stuck. I do see where it did cook down, but it did not do the peel. So we're gonna do this on my stovetop. Calling an audible. Let's see if the peach worked. I think the peach worked. It looks like it did. And let's see if this peach is a freestone. I don't know if it is or not. It is not, damn. Okay, so you see the peach skin is already kind of peeling away a little bit there. We're gonna try to keep the skin on for as long as we can. Honestly, the peach worked. Maybe I won't boil these again, the nectarines. You'll be able to feel, like, when you boil these and they're correct, that's why I took it out and immediately was like, this doesn't feel right. You're gonna feel the peel start to slip across the fruit. And that's kind of like, you can tell when they're ready. So you might have to like go back, just drop them back in for a little bit. And kind of do the whole boil to blanch thing. Again, it's okay if you have to do it twice, which I would have to do this in this case. I'll test to see if this one worked. I know it feel like it worked up here. I can feel that kind of moving around. But because we're working with this one and it seems to have done well, then I'm just gonna continue to do what I was doing, which was leave the skin on for the other ones. But essentially, you can see that I've kind of peeled, or I've made my wedges, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do my slice. Now this is much riper than the nectarines. You can still see that it still pulls away, but I'm kind of making sure it's like a little bit more difficult to pull away and make sure that we're not bruising the fruit. Here we've got, go. Okay. And then once these are off, we're just gonna go ahead and peel. And our peels are going off to the side. Okay. There you go. And peel. If it does, like, you know, again, we're not gonna panic. If it doesn't come off, or if the peel starts coming off while you're trying to slice it, like, it's not the worst case scenario. I'm just trying to make sure that you guys are like safe in your kitchens. So like if you took this whole thing off, if you had freestone peaches, this would be like completely not a problem, because you could just take this pit out and lay it flat and then slice and peel, or you could completely take this peel off because it's flat surface and it's not rolling around. You could take the peel off right now and then you can just slice it and toss it in the bowl. So it's really up to you on how you want to do this. I just can't, like I said, I can't get the pits out. And because I can't get the pits out, it kind of makes it wobbly, and I'm just attempting to be safe. So I'm keeping the skins on for as long as I can, so that I can make sure that I've got something to kind of grip onto. If it was just the fruit, it would be pretty slippery. Okay. Okay, this one is not coming off where, so you can see like it's kind of trying to peel itself off. Okay. There we go. And that is how you have your peeled nectarines and peaches. This peach was much more ripe than my nectarines currently are. You can tell. That is okay. It will just make things sweeter. Rinse my fingers off real quick. Is the stone an issue because of it being a local produce or brand? No, it's just the type of fruit. So you have freestone peaches, and then all other peaches, it's just like a specific type of peach or nectarine. And so when they are freestone, they come free of that pit of the stone. in the center, really easy, and varietals that are not freestone, you obviously can have some trouble with. So. It's funny, I think the nectarine that I chose to take the skin off of, this is like the least ripe nectarine, I think, out of the group. I'm not sure how I managed that. Just lucky, I guess. Oh, this one almost peeled. Yeah. Sometimes they need to just sit a little bit longer in the water. So you would just return it, and that's not a big deal. Yeah. I got half of it. Do this last one. Honestly, I don't really have to do this last one. You can see that the skin actually did work on this one, because I technically have 11. I've got a little more filling than I intended to make right now because I did the extra peach, but we'll be fine. So you can see, and like the peach skin will actually stick far better than the nectarine ones do. These really like to just kind of pull off because they're so thin. But you can see like how slippery that is. And like, I want everybody to be safe. This is like rough. Where did I slice that? Whoop, there it is. So like it gets really sticky really fast. Okay, finally, my gosh. We did it. Should be using my kitchen towel. Using all these paper towels. Okay, let's move all of this out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and mix this up, and I'm just gonna use the slotted spoon that I used earlier. Honestly, a lot of the times I use my hands just because they're a lot, you obviously like will get messy, so it's like up to you about sticky hands or not. But your hands are gonna be more gentle than like folding with a spoon. So if you have like pretty ripe fruit, then you're gonna want to probably use your hands for this step, or you're gonna end up kind of smushing your stuff, your fruit, your filling. And you're just gonna kind of fold until everything gets really well coated. And then you're gonna let it sit while you make your cornstarch slurry, which we will be making in just a second. But basically, you just want to make sure you see that everything's covered and that you don't have like extra flour that is still on the bottom of your bowl. We're going to do the right thing. Save a tree, use a towel. Okay. So now we've got this. We're going to be making our cornstarch slurry. There we go. Pull this guy back. Okay. For your filling, you're going to be doing 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. It's probably about 1 lemon. If they're really, this one is like not super fresh, so I might need to use like 1.5. But yeah, essentially 1 lemon. So the half of a lemon that you zested already, half a lemon, just use that same lemon for the rest of this. And then you're going to be doing a teaspoon of cornstarch, which is essentially 2 grams of cornstarch. Okay. And I believe I said 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and that's essentially 30 milliliters by volume of lemon juice. Oh, hey. This felt like it didn't have a lot of juice in it, but it turns out she was pretty close to being as much as I need and a half. Okay. And then our cornstarch. Okay, and I said 2 grams. I am also going to use the measuring spoon. I just want to make sure that I'm about correct. Oh, hey, 2 on the dot. What do you know? Okay. So now we're going to whisk. I have mini whisks. I love them. People always ask me, like, why do you have all of these tiny whisks? I'm like, because I make tiny sauces. Sometimes you only need sauce for one, or you're making a cornstarch slurry, and we don't need a whole whisk in a ginormous bowl. It's also great for cocktails. Okay, so we have our slurry. If you make this ahead, you can make this ahead of time. If you want to just like make it and have it set aside, that's fine. But it will start to settle. The cornstarch will start to settle on the bottom. So make sure that you re-whisk before you put it into your filling, or you're going to have some residue of the cornstarch left over, and then it's not going to be incorporated evenly. And you cannot add cornstarch directly to the filling. You have to make this slurry first. Because if you added dry cornstarch directly to this, it would clump up and stick to it, like stick to all of the moisture that we've kind of created. Let me do this. You can see the filling. It will clump up and stick in places, and then it won't. You're going to have places that are like super gelled and like gooped, and then other places that are like loose and soupy. And we don't want that. We want a nice consistent filling. So make the slurry. Refold everything in. And now this is the bottom. This is the base of our crisp. And we're almost ready to go into the oven. We just have to prep our bowl, or our dish. So you can do a couple of different things. Do I even have in here what kind of dish? I think I might have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. You're looking for about a 3-quart dish that's 8, I think it's like 8.5 by like a size of a piece of paper, is essentially what you're looking for a dish. It does not need to be a rectangle if you don't have a rectangle. I have been known to use this guy. He also works. I also will break it up into little guys, and I'll have like a layer filling and then topping, and I do like 6 of these. So you can use essentially whatever baking dish you want. I do recommend that you use an actual like casserole or baking dish and that you don't use metal. You can use it. You can use a metal dish if you want. It is not a huge deal. It will bake the same. Just something to keep in mind is that it is obviously a thinner material and it conducts a lot more heat than these dishes do. And so you may end up with a little bit of sticking to your pan. You might end up with a little bit of burning. It's not gonna be a huge deal, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind depending on like what you feel like using. So we are going to butter our dish. Also, not super important. I like to do it just for ease of cleanup when it comes time to washing these dishes because it's getting baked in the oven for an hour, and I like to make things easy when it comes to the cleaning portion of the evening. So yeah, so this is just kind of for ease of cleanup more than anything. Do we have any questions? We are almost. Write them down, keep them in your mind. We almost got this in the oven, and then our live is gonna have like time to chat. We may, if I have interesting questions that pertain to this dish, I may leave a portion of this time, this baking time in the video that you may or may not be now seeing on YouTube. Otherwise, it'll just get cut. I kind of feel like I should do like and now it's in the oven, and now it's out of the oven. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for pausing your video. Not sure how I should treat that. Let's see. Okay, we are fully buttered. Wash my hands one more time, because now I've got butter on my fingers. I have an extra bowl for the big mixer. Yes, we have the 5-quart and the 8-quart bowls for the mixer. I would say cross though. There's a professional version. I'm not sold. This is a commercial one, and I'm not sold on it. I think the classic is a better model. It makes doughs better. It whisks better. Things tend to take like 30 to 40% longer in the commercial than they do in the classic, and they're not as well done. And I don't know if it's because I've not used. They have like I think there's a professional, and then there's like one other one in the KitchenAid mixer line that are also like the kind of like you set it into and you don't like lift the top up. It's like a stationary top. Or stationary engine. What's the word? Is it engine? No, it's not engine. Motor. This like as the motor is stationary, so that head doesn't go up and down. You just kind of like set it in and then lift the bowl up and down with a latch. And so I'm not sure if it's all of the ones that you latch and lift the bowl into, or if it's specifically the professional one, because I've not used the other ones that are that style. But I will use it when I know that I'm making doughs like brioche that take a really long time to make, and it may overheat my now 14-year-old mixer. May she live forever. But if I'm doing anything else, I'm using the classic one. It's just overall a better machine. Okay, filling in. Whew. Let's do this. Okay, and I'm gonna go retrieve the topping from the refrigerator. You got it? Okay, cool. My husband is going to retrieve the topping from the refrigerator. And I'm just kind of trying to get this all down into one layer so you don't have like big pieces kind of sticking up or anything like that. So just kind of move them around the dish, get everything nice and kind of wedged in. Does it work if it's cut in thin slices? You mean like if I made really thin slices for the fruit? Yeah, it'll work. The texture will just be different. Yeah, that's the only difference is the texture of your filling at the end will be different. Thank you. Okay. Now, the cool thing about this recipe is that essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing 2 layers of topping. So I'm going to use half of this first. So we're gonna, and this is gonna be like really, it's not gonna be soft on purpose, right? Because we want it to stay the course while baking here. We want that butter to like really create a nice layer. The first layer is going to crisp and act as a barrier for that second layer. So we're taking half of this topping and we're putting it on top of our fruit. We're covering everything. That should be about half. And you could measure it out and be fully precise if you want to, but you could eyeball it. It's not a big deal as long as you have enough left over that you know you can spread an even layer on top. So that's probably about half. Okay. And so this is going to crisp, and you will see when I take it out after 30 minutes, you might see some bubbles here and there, but by and large, we're kind of creating a moisture barrier. And so this guy here is going to create that barrier so when this one goes on, the top one absolutely stays crisp. That is the point, is I want this to be as crispy as possible. So this is going to go in. I am going to put this onto a baking sheet just in case we start to get a little bit of filling kind of bubbling over the side of the pan. We're just going to protect my oven from having issues with burned fruit on the bottom of it. Okay, and in she goes. Now remember, I've got this at, I believe it was 273. I'm gonna look it up again. Celsius, it's at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. It's gonna go in the oven and we're gonna immediately turn it down to 177 Celsius or 350 degrees. Okay, and now that is going to bake for 30 minutes. And then the second part of our topping goes in. So at this point, for those of you who are on YouTube and found this video and you've decided that you wanted to cook along today, I'm going to talk to chat. This is a live video, or this was a live stream that was turned into a video. So I'm going to have a conversation with chat. It may or may not be cut out. You may have a little bit of this now, and then it's going to be cut into a video that just tells you to go ahead and pause now and come back in 30 minutes and come back when you're done and you take it out of the oven. And welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I'm about to take this out of the oven. There you go. I don't know what to say. It may be cut. We may leave all of our conversation from chat. But either way, you've got part of a video, or you've got what you need. You might not want to sit and listen to me chat with people for 30 whole minutes, especially if it's not on topic. I'll probably do a little bit of cleaning while I'm talking, just to get ahead of it, because this has 30 minutes to go. So I will see you maybe in another second, maybe in 30 minutes, if you listen to an entire 30 minutes of me talking to the people in the live. Leave it in, make them scroll. No! Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to talk about anything? We've got 30 minutes to kill. Do I still drink coffee? Yes. Well, I'm not going to go, so I'm staying for the live. But this live feed, this live stream is going to be turned into a video for YouTube. And there's kind of no reason for them to be watching a video and then for 30 minutes we're talking about nothing that pertains to the recipe. So we're contemplating cutting this section out. Crumble back in the fridge, or can it sit out on the counter for 30 minutes? You can do either. I'm just gonna let it sit out. I've got my moisture barrier, so I'm not worried about that butter as much now. You can do whatever your heart desires. That is a good question. Do I have my own gaming setup? Oh, how did I? Okay, let's start. I'll pause. How did I get into cooking? I've been cooking my whole life. My dad really liked to cook. He grew up working in restaurants. He owned 2 restaurants before he became a lawyer, like one does. Or actually, one of them he owned while he was a lawyer. I don't know. He was a man of many talents. One of those being cooking. And we used to do a lot of big family meals, and he always let us get involved. So I just loved it because I loved spending time with my dad. And I loved, like, he kind of passed on that feeling of like giving someone something and making someone something, and coming from like a real place of like love and gratitude for other people. And so I just kind of also developed that as a like means of showing people that I love them. I like to cook for them. And so, yeah, I just got into cooking because my dad loved to cook, and now I do as well. Do I have my own gaming setup and play D2? I don't. I used to. I played D1, and then we had kids. And now I play video games 2 to 3 times a year. One of those being on New Year's when we do a New Year's stream.
You sometimes play my account and give me loot.
That's the 2 to 3 times a year. I fished in D2 for 5 hours straight. That was fun. What is by far my favorite recipe that I've made? Okay, so that's really a difficult question, mostly because autism requires me to answer that in a literal term. And there's so many different ways to answer that question. I think my favorite recipe that I've ever made is not actually my favorite recipe, but it has memory attached to it that made it special. So I developed a stuffed cabbage recipe that is on Instagram. I've not moved it over to the website yet. My Instagram was around a year longer than my website was. So I'm still kind of moving recipes from Instagram to the website to bring them both in parity with each other. And I developed a stuffed cabbage recipe. That was my dad's recipe that I grew up making with him. And he passed 4 years ago. That's just like a weird word. What a euphemism. He died 4 years ago. And it was the first time I decided I wanted to develop that family recipe. And it was the first time that I made it. And I took a bite of it and I just started crying. And so that was probably my favorite meal that I've ever made, my favorite recipe I've ever made, because it connected me back with him in a way that I like wasn't anticipating, but like really like put me in the feels, obviously. So like maybe that one. But it's like, I don't know, that one. I'm gonna just give that as my answer every time someone asks me this question.
Is your non-pizzas.
Oh, we haven't done that in a really long time. And that is a recipe that I have not fully developed yet. So something that we like to do, we call them non-pizzas. Essentially, it's like a chicken tikka and like an aloo curried potato that goes onto a non-style flatbread, on a flatbread. Non means bread. So I've got, essentially I'll make flatbreads and then put down tikka sauce and the chicken that is in the tikka masala, the chicken tikka masala, and then we'll add in, I'll like curry some potatoes up with like turmeric and onion and cumin and some garam masala that I've got a mix for. And then the potatoes will go on. So it's like chicken, potatoes, tikka, curry, And then I get like a Syrian or Armenian. It's kind of labeled both things, string cheese. And essentially what it is it's a really salty cheese that has caraway seeds in it. And you can get it without the caraway seeds, but I prefer it with the caraway seeds. There's one in the freezer. I'll keep it in the freezer and then defrost it when it's time to like eat them. You can get the one in the freezer because it's not wrapped and I can see the whole label. Just pull it out. Yeah. And I will, because it's a string cheese, you literally, like it comes in like a rope. Yeah. Oh, we don't have the thing on. I don't know if you can see that. So it's like this. This one says Armenian string cheese. My stepmother is Syrian, and she turned me on to that cheese because we'd sit as a group, my stepmother and I, would sit around our kitchen table and we would just pull all of the string cheese into like a bunch of big fibers, piles of like stringy cheese fibers. And we would open up the top of pita pockets, like pitas, and like dump the cheese into the pita and then bake them in the oven and eat it that way. And so I will put that cheese on top of and kind of act as like the cheese for the pizzas. And it is a wildly delicious dish. But like, it's one of those things where it's like you make the components. So like I might make Indian food one day. And so I'll have like a big batch of tikka. And then I'll turn around and like just whip up the pizzas as like a next day meal. And so like saying, hey, make a whole thing of tikka and then make the potatoes and then make a flatbread and then add the cheese. Like it becomes a really weird recipe post on a website. So I've never attempted to kind of do that. I'm not really sure how I would accomplish that, but yeah.
You got a lot of scrolling to do.
Yeah, I have a lot of scrolling to do. Oh my God. Cooking is absolutely a natural transition from into a law profession. Oh my God.
Hey, I'm tall.
It's not a ton of scrolling. They're all just talking about how tall you are.
That's what I
The
said.
name of the food Instagram and the website. So I am on Instagram. I'm at _little_spoon. So a little spoon with underscores where the spaces would be. And then the website is alittlespoon.com. You tried making pita the other day, but it's not there yet. So I have, and this is fully up to you. It's not 100% pita, but I do have a kind of, I call it a universal flatbread recipe on the website and on Instagram. Depends on where you want to go wherever you want to go. And essentially, depending on how you roll it out, so if you roll it really thin, it's kind of like restaurant style naan. If you want it to be a flatbread, you would roll it thicker and you cook it like on the stovetop or in the oven. But if you roll it thick enough, and there are instructions, and then you have a pizza stone or a pizza steel, I think it's like metal. You can bake it in your oven and it will puff just like a pita. So you can kind of like put it in there, it'll puff up. You can take it out, flip it over. And when you take it out, it has that whole pocket and you can snip the top off and it's nice and soft. It's softer than pita that I've had even from like markets where you would buy like fresh pita. It's a little bit softer than that because it's meant to kind of also be a flatbread and also kind of have the qualities of all of those things. So there's like a little bit of give with that. There's a little bit of flexibility around it, but it's an excellent recipe. If you're interested in trying that. Oh, Gumpita, thanks for the raid. I'm so sorry that I don't know if you're still in here. Thank you very much for that. We are doing a cooking stream. I apologize to anybody who is part of the raiding party that was not expecting to sit and listen to me talk about food. We are making a nectarine crisp behind me. It is the first part of our topping, and in 18 minutes we're putting on the second part of the topping. If you do not want to watch this content, please move on. I'm sure Gumpita was playing Destiny and you were actually looking for raid content and or the final shape finish of the campaign. Apologies. You may go elsewhere. I'm not holding you here. If you were expecting a below average stream, you're getting an above average one instead. Aw, that was nice.
I think
Thanks.
before you raid, you look at what the streamer's doing.
No, I know.
So you knew you were cooking. Hi, Gumpita.
We were not here for D2. We were here for Carrie. Aw, thanks. The final shape is actually food. Honestly, I would be fine. If that was the actual answer, I'd be down for that. I'd be okay with that. I love how the final shape actually like was so on the nose that they were like triangle, circle. Which one is the final shape? No, he's not on stilts. He is 6'2" and I'm 5'3". So the camera is positioned for my height and he is obviously taller than me. So half of his head gets cut off. Those are all clean. I didn't use any of them because I used the scale instead. Save your kitchen, your dishwasher space, and your time washing dishes and use a kitchen scale.
I'm okay. Am I okay cleaning up?
Yes, you can clean up. There's nothing else to do. Ooh, a 10-hour stream. That's a long stream. Non-stop, definitely go eat something. Relax. You don't have to if you don't want to. I mean, like I said, like this is just a live. We're just chatting right now. But also we are actively cooking. So what do you have this listed as? Is it you have it as a cooking stream on Twitch?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're still cooking. It's just passive cooking. We're passive cooking. This is not a just chatting stream. This is a just chatting plus still cooking stream.
Should I zoom the camera into the oven?
No, the oven is dirty. That would be a mistake. I have to clean the oven. We have to take the glass apart too. Because the last time we cleaned it, we got some of the drips down in.
Drippies.
Yeah. We just cooking. Have I ever gotten my mixer serviced? They can replace the grease in the gear head to avoid some of that burnout. Sam, I am so glad that you said that. No, I have not. But I did find a company 5 months ago. Longer than that. It was longer than that. Oh my God. My birthday was November. Oh my God, it's been almost a year. I found the company that can service it. I asked around. I found the correct company. I called them to see if I needed to set a reservation. And they said, no, bring it in whenever, which immediately means I'm not going to prioritize it and everything else in my life comes first. And I have not actually brought it to them, which is a mistake. But I do know who in town can do that. And I do need to bring it in because I am convinced that because it is so old, that's what's causing a little bit of that, the generation of heat in my mixer and my motor. Yeah, that it needs to be taken apart and it needs to get a whole bunch of grease slathered in there to take care of that. So yes. Okay. Can I forgive my ignorance? No. There is nothing to forgive. Questions are welcome. Can you describe the flavor of a nectarine? Is it similar to like a peach? Yes.
What's the difference between a nectarine and a peach?
There is no difference except for the skin. So a nectarine is exactly a peach, but they have the I guess technically, I can't say like, they changed the genetic code, but it's non-GMO. Before we go there, it is non-GMO. They crossbred until they created a peach without the fuzz of...
That's the only difference?
Yeah, that's the difference. It's a peach without that fuzz, and the peel, your peel is thinner. So it has a thinner peel, and there's no fuzz. That is the only difference between a peach and a nectarine.
Compare.
Can't be a big rush if you aren't getting any bad smells, but probably worth doing someday. Yeah. And I think that's probably why I haven't taken it in yet, because I've been very gentle on it, right? So I have the secondary mixer, which means I'm only doing things that I know aren't going to cause the motor issues. And so it's not as important. I'm not getting any of that kind of like grinding gears smell, whatever the heck. And so I've been lax. I definitely fell behind on that one.
Exact same.
Chili Canada says a nectarine is a peach with a Brazilian. I'm not explaining what a Brazilian is. If you don't know, you don't know, but that's really funny.
Same flavor, yeah. Well, almost.
That's
so
so funny.
And peach are same flavor, right?
Huh?
Nectarine and a peach are the same
Yeah.
flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any interest in streaming once a week? Not a cook along, but just like a chill, laid back cooking stream on your own Twitch channel. Because if you stream 7 times in a month, you could become an affiliate.
Yeah.
Have emotes. Have some.
I mean, if I plan a month where I do that, and then you said just 7 streams in a month.
I think. Chad, what's the affiliate rules? 7 streams in a month, and then like a certain amount of followers, and then viewers. But I know it would take time away from what you want to create. But if you like doing it,
spun itself off the counter. That's really funny. Your mixer spun itself off the counter. You should look into this. So one of the things that I did, God, I can't even get it out. I just got the stuff that you get. It's like in a roll, right? It's like a waffle kind of, so you can see through it. It's like a waffle grippy stuff that you usually put into like drawers so that stuff in your drawers don't slide around. And I put that underneath my mixer so that it kind of has that tension and it won't just like free spin. Cabinet liners. Thank you for the correct terminology. Okay, reach 50 followers, stream for 8 hours, stream on 7 different days, average 3 viewers, concurrent viewership, including raids.
within a month.
All of those things need to happen.
Within a month, yeah.
Okay. So 8 hours
Total.
on 7 different days. I hate that because I would stream for 8 hours and 4 or less. I've done 4.5 hour streams here. So in like 2 streams, essentially, I could have the amount of time necessary, but they need to be 7 different streams or 7 different days.
Yeah,
That kind of sucks.
Well,
It's not like a Venn diagram of things that they're like
well,
all.
They want you to be online more often, like at least once a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I stream 5 days. I stream 5 days a week, and sometimes I feel like
Sorry, I tapped the.
I feel like I'm not live enough
Yeah.
if I'm only live 5 days a week, which is like a horrible, toxic thing to think. But
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like once a week, I might be able to work.
Interesting.
What would you do though? Like,
I mean, I could do that. Like, I could just plan to do that for 1 month so that I can get the affiliate and then drop off, go back to these cook-alongs. I would need to do them on my channel.
right.
But that is something that I could look into. Would people... Because like the whole, like, yes, the emotes would be great. I would love to have, I have a Discord, I have a private Discord that does have emotes, its own emotes. So if you are in Chuck's community and you go into his Discord, you may see some of my emotes in his Discord because I actually have my Patreon members get access to a private Discord server that we chat about food in. And so having those emotes be present in another place and be usable like during his streams would be really fun because a lot of the times too is it's like I like to kind of go in and I'll like text and stuff or I'll chat in his stream, but I can't use my emotes. I have to use his emotes, and it would be cool to see my emotes in your streams. But yeah, I would probably have that all kind of bunched up until I got the affiliate thing and then drop off. And if I drop off, if anybody wants to subscribe, they're not going to be getting enough content. I mean, in my mind, it's like not enough
You
content.
have no interest in streaming more often because you'd rather do the things you want
The
to do.
problem with streaming cooking is incredibly difficult to do if you have to do it the same amount as like somebody who like doing something like you do.
Oh, yeah.
Because like a recipe could be 30 minutes, it could be 2 hours, it could be 4 hours. Sometimes like cinnamon rolls, you make the dough and you make a brioche dough and then it literally rests for 24 hours. What do? If I'm doing a pizza, I rest the dough for 48 hours. So it'd be like, hey, we're going up to here and then like, I'll see you back in 2 days. Honestly, the lives, like doing streams like that would be better for that than it would be for YouTube. Because I can't do those recipes in a YouTube thing. Asking people to come back and be like, for the cook-alongs, be like, hey, I'm doing a monthly cook-along, but I'm gonna do this as like a 2-part monthly, you know, like we're doing it Sunday and we're also doing it on Tuesday would be a little rough.
So I guess they would.
I don't know.
They wouldn't be just cooking. They would be like you,
Yeah.
food and drink, hanging out.
Yeah, we could do something like hangouts. Like if I did maybe like 2 cooking streams a month and then 2 hangouts a month, that might be worth it. But that's still only 4 streams. It's maybe 10 hours of content a month. That doesn't feel like a lot. It doesn't feel like enough that people would subscribe. I would love, you know what? That's not a bad idea, Grumpy Goddess. Streaming recipe development.
You want to try to be creative while people are watching you? You want to try to develop something while people are watching you?
I don't hate the idea.
Try it one time.
I don't hate the idea. I talk a lot.
You talk to your process.
I talk to my Patreon members a lot when I'm doing recipe development. I'll be like, "What do you think of this idea?" Or I'll like send pictures and be like, "Okay, it's going in the oven," and then we'll come out. We have a whole channel that's recipe wins and fails. And like sometimes I'm like, "Look what I did," and then other times, or in the behind the scenes stuff, I'll put it in and be like, well, this didn't work. So like the first time that I made this specific recipe gluten-free, I did the 1-to-1 Bob's Red Mill like flour mix, gluten-free flour mix. And it just was soup. The whole top was soup. There was no crunch. There was no anything. And I was like, this is a problem. And I like put it on and they were all like, oh, it looks like chili gone wrong, or like it was like a couple of them that were like, oh yeah, I know this is not the play.
Cooking.
This is not the play, but yeah, getting input could be fun. Getting input that is criticizing instead of helpful would be a little annoying when I'm trying to actually like, you know, whatever.
Oh, would it?
And but that's the internet, right? So it's like, do I share this with the internet?
Welcome to my life.
I feel like I'm not sure. I'm not sure about how that would go. But it would be really interesting for people who want to learn, and I try to do this, right? So if you ever look at my recipes and you go to the FAQ section of my website, of the recipes, the posts, I try really hard to talk about the science of what is going on, how an ingredient interacts, why I've used it, and if you substitute, what will happen. If it changes the flavor, if it changes the texture, or any of that, or you need a different temperature if you're using something else, if you need more moisture because the flour is a different protein percentage and it's going to absorb more moisture, like all of that kind of stuff, I try to talk about that. And it would be really cool to be able to talk about that in real time, because it's a lot easier to just like word vomit that out instead of like attempting to like type it in a way that somebody can understand without visually seeing it. So like having access to like visual content while talking about something, I feel like is way more helpful than just typing stuff out.
Recipes on TikTok. Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
Recipes on TikTok have to be short. And I obviously like long form content because I like the teaching aspect more than just the content aspect. Like those quick videos, yeah, they're so casual.
But do you like to watch them?
No. My TikTok feed has almost no cooking content. The people that pop up on my For You and that I have followed, but mostly that pop up on my For You almost exclusively. I get very, very little cooking content on my TikTok. Cult Flave. They are my favorite content creators on TikTok. They do have a YouTube. They do have a website.
And
they review cookbooks. They review kitchen tools. They have like their videos are somewhere between 3 and 10 minutes a piece. So they're long form for TikTok. And they do part series. So they'll go through a cookbook and they'll cook recipes in a cookbook over like the course of, 4 or 5 5-minute videos. So that's already like 20 minutes of content. And then they'll review the cookbook based on like different things and then give like an overall score. None of that is short form content.
I feel like
so
we're very similar.
I'm not that audience. I know that audience is out there, but this is not me.
We're identical.
Yeah.
And we know what will make our stuff more popular, but we don't want to do that thing.
Yeah.
Informational YouTube videos about Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Short TikTok or recipe, food making, cool, quick cut.
Yeah.
Food making videos for her would be incredible. But she's like, oh.
I know. I should
the
make
same
them.
way.
I should make them.
I should make informational YouTube videos for Destiny.
What's my favorite type of homemade pasta to make? That's a cross between two things. I really like making gnocchi. If you don't consider that pasta because it's got potato in it, then probably pappardelle pasta. It's like a really thick, I'm sure you know since you're asking, but like the really thick noodles. I love thick noodles. I would almost make like a lasagna noodle and then just throw that on a plate with some ragu and I am a happy camper. You're in the YouTube stream. You made it. Hi. Hi, Grandma Slayer.
Hope I'm drinking a Negroni.
Yes.
A nightcap Negroni. You can find this recipe at littlespoon.com, nightcap Negroni.
Yes, only the nightcap Negroni does not use Bombay. We just ran out of Leopold's summer gin.
I used the rest of the summer gin.
You did use I saw the summer gin out.
Which is like 5
I just want to make sure people know that even though the Bombay was out here, if they go to attempt to make it, we'll give you a different gin to use. I specifically request the Leopold's summer gin. It works really well with this cocktail. I do also give suggestions for other gins to use if you do not have that or cannot find it or don't have access to it. So yeah. Yay, we're ready. Okay, 30 minutes have elapsed.
For those of you who are new here, we are doing a cook-along. So we've been waiting for this thing to come out of the oven.
Yes.
It's about to go back in the oven, but it's got to come out first. So
yeah.
We're playing Destiny tomorrow, by the way, Clutch. Okay, here we go.
Okay, if you are here and you are not part of the live that is currently going on, you're here as part of the YouTube video that has been cut after the fact. You may or may not have had 30 minutes elapsed between when this went in. We are still not sure whether or not we are going to cut it out. So if you didn't have 30 minutes of chat, then we did cut it. Welcome back. I hope you paused the video and you are now ready to pull your Nectarine crisp out of the oven, which we are currently going to do. We are adding the topping back, the second portion of topping onto this guy. Okay. Can you pull up the camera? Thanks. Okay. So we've got little crisp spots, you can see, but then we've got some fruit kind of popping through where there is some moisture. And so what we're doing now is we're adding our second layer of topping. And it's hot, so please don't burn yourself. Be careful when you're spreading and moving topping over. But we've created that moisture barrier that I talked about. Actually, let's just do this. Yay. Okay. And we're just gonna gently kind of spread this around. Okay, and now this goes back in. It is a lot of toppings. We can talk about that as soon as this goes back in. I'd already talked about it earlier in the video, so if we do cut out a section, then they're not going to need to rehear that. But here we go. Back into the oven for another 30 minutes. And then you're going to be done with the recipe. You take it out of the oven. You let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes, so that it can set and cool. And that cornstarch slurry and everything that's going on in the filling can kind of solidify a little bit. And then you can dig in and have some ice cream, throw some chopped up mint in it, and it's delicious. That is going to go for another 30 minutes, and I'm going to continue chatting. We may or may not end the video right here. Should I do an outro here and pretend like we can end it here and be like, hey, in 30 minutes, you're done? Or should I just keep talking and people can actually see the end of this 30 minutes from now? What do you feel like doing?
What?
You mean don't burn my mouth instantly? No, please don't. Please don't do it.
I don't know. Like, for the cook-along, they've cooked. You've let them cook and they've cooked. They just got to pull it out, maybe, but you want to see the result.
Well, I'm wondering if like we pull it out
Show
and
them what it
then
looks
do
like.
a little bit of a scoop.
Like it's supposed to look like this. That's so good.
The only thing is then you have to cut. You cut this again, then have to cut the 5. We can kind of let it rest for 5 minutes and kind of like be like, oh, we won't wait much longer.
I'm gonna timestamps into the YouTube video.
Okay.
Add chapters.
Yeah.
I've never done that before, but it's super easy. Everyone does it.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that then.
That way I don't have to re-render it because rendering like 2 hours at 1440p
Right.
high quality just takes a while.
Right. Scoop, please. You want to see what it looks like? Everybody wants to see what it looks like? Okay.
Zoom in on the scoop.
You need the B-roll of the finished product? Okay. See, and that's what it is. So I feel like we should make teaser video. Like I probably find short form content to do like teaser videos where you're like seeing the end result and like scooping in or breaking in or I don't know, like cutting into or whatever the heck, a final dish or final recipe, but not having like how I make the thing, just being like, here's a teaser, go make the recipe or go to the cook along or go to the wherever the content
That's
is.
what I imagine the shorts would be.
Yeah. Is literally just food porn, like 5-second food porn clips.
15.
Okay. Okay.
Like that is my ideal. But in order for you to make
Yes,
that,
please.
you'd have to learn how to make all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
You'd have to stop making content.
I'd have
to
to.
learn how
I'd
to
have
make
to.
video.
Yeah, I'd have to stop making content so I could learn videography. I am planning on. I was going to talk to you about it. I know I've mentioned it in the past, but I didn't know how much it was going to cost. I'm planning on buying a video course.
A video course.
That I've been working with a content creator.
This is the beginning.
As a tester to help them develop a video course. And I've worked with her for photography, and I do like her teaching style. So I've been working with her on creating a video course as kind of just like a, hey, here's some input, kind of like a group of people that signed on to give her input on her course. And she gave a steep like coupon discount on her course for the people who helped. So I do plan on purchasing that when it comes out. So yeah, I am planning to learn videography. I know enough to get me in trouble, but I don't know enough to make something actually nice. Not that the internet cares.
No,
because like an iPhone can do, yeah, I know. I am me.
I made the worst edited video for asking the question, how tall is the witness?
Yeah.
It's got like 400,000 views.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
People don't care about editing.
Yeah.
Leb should be 300 pounds off. That's good food. Kush. What do you say, Kush or Kush? Kush.
Kush.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not bigger. Why am I not bigger?
Because we eat foods that aren't overly processed. and portion control, and you exercise like
Portion control?
You exercise like a
You
lot.
see me eat. I have no portion control.
You exercise a lot?
Not that much.
I don't know, honey. I don't know.
I
He eats
have
once a
a-
day.
Well,
You
no,
have a protein bar
I had eggs,
and eggs, and
protein bar,
then you eat dinner.
I had a little snack throughout the day.
He does come in a munch. He
Little
wanders.
pre-workout
He's
meal.
like, guys, I'm gonna go go to the bathroom, and he'll like leave stream,
Yeah.
and then he'll like wander into the pantry and like rummage around in there a little bit,
No,
and
it's
then
bro, we have like Bilbo's pantry. We have the under the hill pantry.
Don't say
if the
that.
dwarves are showing up,
Please
they're
don't.
happy. Like they can figure out a whole meal for a couple days with that pantry.
We have
How do I ignore it?
we have all of the ingredients and things that you could need for it. Well, because I have a website that needs food.
And then she makes it worse.
He's exposing me. He's exposing me. I have a lot of ingredients.
No, you're exposing me.
Oh, okay. We're exposing each other.
The worst part of the pantry is most things are in clear containers, so I can just see like these big containers.
And you're like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah, like pistachios or what's the other one?
Cashews.
Cashews. Like there's what's this one?
There's dried fruit. There's all sorts of stuff.
This one I get all the time.
What? Pretzels?
How do I not know the name of it?
What is that? What? Show it to me. Show it to me. Are those the peanut butter pretzels? Oh, no, those are walnuts.
Walnuts.
Those are walnuts. There's also pecans in there.
I walk by the pantry.
And you're just like, let me scoop some
I'm like,
walnuts.
Oh, I just have a little.
Okay.
No. No.
Gnocchi counts as pasta. Good to know. I like that. Holy cow, how tall is Lip? Somebody throw the command in to Twitch stream. He's 6'2". Thanks, chicken.
Oh, look.
What are you
there's
cooking?
pecans.
What are you cooking? We are making a Nectarine crisp. This is part of a cook-along series that I do once a month. Next month, we are doing a Green Goddess pasta salad recipe that has a bunch of different components in it, but is absolutely tremendous. Can I say tremendous? Delicious is probably a better word. And so we are at the tail end of this stream, and that is going to come out of the oven in about 20 minutes. We'll let it cool just a little bit, and then I will scoop out a big portion for you guys to see. Unfortunately, we do not have vanilla ice cream in the house right now.
Wanna go get it?
Do you think you want to go run and get some vanilla ice cream?
22 minutes.
I don't want to eat anything with the microphone. You got 20 minutes if you
It
get
won't
vanilla
pick
ice
it
cream.
up.
It won't pick it up, you don't think?
Look at the green bar.
Okay.
Chew.
Awesome. Okay.
You think I'd let them hear you eat?
I guess some of you asked, we'll talk about this a little bit. Some of you asked if you could change out the fruit. And we talked about using like other stone fruits like plums or cherries or apricots, maybe mixing in some berries as just like a little bit of the recipe. So like 3/4 of it might be the nectarines, and then you maybe put blueberries or something like that in for like 1/4 of it. But something else you can also consider is putting nuts into the topping. So right now it's basically a streusel topping with oats and a couple of spices, but you might also want to do like slivered almonds, or you can add in some walnuts or some pistachios. If you like crush up some pistachios and throw pistachios into it, that could be really nice. So you can consider adding that, and adding. I think I have it written on the website in the recipe. I believe one of the FAQs has how much you should use, and I want to say it's about 3/4 of a cup. I don't have the weight of that. But it will be like in my head, but it will be on the website. So you can add some maybe nuts into that, or some maybe craisins, so like dried cranberries or something like that. If you wanted to have something a little chewy textured into that crust, you could also add herbs. So that could be fun. So you can do something like sage or rosemary into the topping. You can also add something like basil or thyme into the filling. I suggest you stick with the heartier herbs in a topping so that they will kind of get in there and not burn, and you can get their flavor. If you put the heartier stuff like sage into the filling, it may not cook all the way down, so you might have like pieces of sage in the filling, and I'm not sure if you want that. Whereas the softer herbs, the more delicate ones like a basil, will not have that kind of like textural difference in the filling once it's finished cooking. And you couldn't put basil into the topping because it would burn, and it would burn badly. So you can kind of, if it's a delicate herb, you can put it in the filling, and if it's something that's a little sturdier, you can put it into the topping, and you can create different flavor variations just by changing that out. Time is of the essence, yes. That is a great way to say that. Thank you. Thank you for the pun. I appreciate puns. You're harvesting blueberries right now? Hi. Oh, gosh, everybody was here. My mom was here earlier, and now my mother-in-law is here. Hi. Bambi Pam is my mother-in-law. Thank you for tuning in. That's a feat, too. That's the feat where she's out in the boondocks. She does not have a ton of service, so you being here, not even subbed. No.
All right. I'll get ice cream from Publix.
Wherever you want.
What brand?
Doesn't matter.
Vanilla,
Publix brand is
regular
fine.
vanilla, French vanilla.
Regular vanilla is fine.
Okay. All right. Although you said you had to go anyway to get ice cream, but you also wanted lunch meat.
Mm-hmm.
Lunch meat, if you wanna make that in time.
I can go after and get ice cream. You don't have to do it right now.
You want stream?
No, we don't need ice cream for stream. I will eat that. I eat that out of the refrigerator. I don't even care if that's hot, to be honest. I'll take it out and I might have like a serving when it's warm for obvious reasons with ice cream. But once it goes away and it goes into the refrigerator or the freezer, I will legitimately pull it out of the refrigerator. I'll leave it in the refrigerator instead of immediately freezing it. I'll leave it in the refrigerator for a couple of days so that I can just like take it out of the refrigerator and like eat it right out of the dish. And then like once we're getting into like the 3-day mark, I'll move it into the freezer. I'll like portion it out and put it in the freezer, and then we'll take that out and reheat it. And you can reheat this in the microwave. It will stay crispy in the microwave. You can also reheat it in the oven. My preferred method is in the oven for obvious reasons. That's how it was made. That's how it can be reheated. Those instructions are also on the website in the post. So plenty of information in there. But yeah, just reheat it in like a 300-degree oven, and it'll be ready for you. If you don't want to just have it cold, which I do. I don't care. How did I come up with the name A Little Spoon? So that was my gamer tag for years, for lots and lots of years. And I was trying to come up with what I wanted the whole brand to be. And the list is somewhere around here. It's just a piece of paper that has a ton of cooking terms and a ton of stuff like front and back, very like Ted Kaczynski, like crazy sociopath scratched handwriting. It's like the meme of oh my gosh, I forgot what the movie is. It's the meme of the movie where that guy is like, it's connected, and it's got like all of the stuff all over the place. That's what this paper looked like. I was out of my mind trying to figure out what I wanted to name this thing. Is it Always Sunny in Philadelphia? It's the guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I don't know if that's exactly where it came from. I think it came from a movie he was in. But I was like racking my brain, could not figure out what I wanted to do. And my husband was like, well, why don't you just name it A Little Spoon? Like, you're already Lil Spoon in all of your gaming places, your gaming persona. You can literally keep that and it makes sense. And I said, you know what? You are absolutely right. And I put that paper away and I never looked at it again. And I am A Little Spoon. And that's where it came from. Absolutely. Okay. Okay. That works. Yes, the origin story. Partial or the part of the origin story. Does anybody have any other questions about what we're cooking today, about food in general? Anything you've been wanting to make? You want more information about? Literally whatever your guys' heart's desire when it comes to food, we can talk about. Do I miss gaming? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I had a lot of fun. God, it's almost 10 years ago now. I had a lot of fun gaming. We did a lot of Destiny 1, and we were lucky enough that we got to do friends and family for development of Destiny 1. And then we also helped with the alpha and the beta before it came out in its full form. And it was a really, really fun experience. Especially just like when a brand new game comes out and not necessarily like the new DLCs and things like that just expand the universes. When new games comes out and you're like really exploring and experimenting with like what the game could be and what your characters can do and like the environment and all that kind of stuff, like it's just a really fun time to play. And I consider myself very lucky for having been a part of that. So yeah, I do miss it. You would support a Carrie gaming stream? It would take me a while to get back up to snuff for sure. Does Tallahassee have like a signature dish? No. No, I don't think it does. What would be like a Norfolk? Because the problem is like Tallahassee is kind of like a melting pot of a bunch of places. It's a college town. We've got people coming from all over for lobbying because it's the capital of the state.
We have the most government employees per capita of anywhere in America.
Really?
For sure.
My husband just said we have the most government employees per capita of anywhere else in the United States.
Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, Washington, D.C. makes more sense to me, but it's also not a state.
I swear to God, I heard.
Well, are you saying by like for a state, or are you saying for a?
That's just what I can't remember the exact. Let me look it up.
Like as a capital of a state, because the DC is not the capital of a state. It's not a state. So maybe that's why that wasn't on the list. Gator is the signature dish. No, gator is actually a South Florida thing. We don't have gator up here typically on menus. That's something that like if you went down into the Everglades and you went on like an airboat ride or you went to the Seminole Reservation, they have gator tail there. Like it's like everywhere. But here it's not usually on menus or around very often. Yes, I do take the pictures on my Instagram and my website. Those are my photos copyrighted to me. I did not realize how much I would love taking food photos, but I am a big fan. And I do take and edit all of those images, yes. And thank you for saying that they are nice. I appreciate that because I do really like them as well. Can any tips on cooking to tell if something is done if you're colorblind? So it depends on what you're cooking, but a lot of the times something will feel differently when it is done versus the texture of it. If like you're trying to crisp something up or trying whatever, like your texture, what it's gonna feel like will be helpful. What it will smell like will be helpful. But the best thing that you can do to test doneness, if you can't visually see doneness, is to use a thermometer. Use a thermometer. You can get a surface thermometer so that you can hit like the top of like a pot or a pan to make sure that it's heated up enough, or that like whatever surface is the correct temperature. and you can get an internal instant read thermometer, like a Thermapen or something like this guy. I think I have like a Javelin Pro, but like Thermapen makes them, and they do instant read internal for a lot of things. Like if you're making chicken or you're making a steak or you're making something like that, something meat, that's really great. If you're baking, your internal temperature is going to be between 190 and 200 degrees for any baked goods. So you don't have to, I don't know what that is in Celsius. I apologize to my metric people. But if you're using that, you don't have to go off of like dipping in like a toothpick and looking for like the crumb structure or whatever the heck comes off your toothpick. You can just test the doneness with temperature. So yeah. Do I have a favorite once a week food treat like Lep's pizza? No. No, I don't. I tend to make a bunch of different dips and sauces and like pickled things or meals, and then end up just kind of like mishmash eating things throughout the week. So typically like there will be something in the refrigerator that I will eat during the course of a week, but it's never the same thing. So I have ingredients to make pimento cheese in there right now. And I'll probably do that. So like I might have hummus, or I might have like pimento cheese, or I might have some pickles. Like I might make some quick pickles or something like that. And either they go with the pimento cheese, or it might be like a Korean style pickle that I'll just kind of like randomly be eating. There's just all sorts of stuff in the fridge. My fridge is like 75% sauce or condiment or dip. Like there's very little. I don't know if that's like a sign of somebody who cooks a lot or a sign of someone who is just like completely ADHD. That like so much of my refrigerator is like not just produce or like just whatever, like larger items. It's just a bunch of bottles and labeled cups and things. Do the feel thing with steak? The thing I have problems with. Oh, I do the feel thing with steak. Okay. Have problems with hamburgers, knowing when they are done. You can use a thermometer for that to test for doneness. Because it's beef, you can go based off of whatever temperatures you're using for your steaks. If you want it to be rare, medium, medium well, or well done, you can just kind of insert that thermometer into there. What I tend to do for visual doneness, that doesn't have anything to do with like the internal color of a burger, is that when I make my burgers, and I will eventually get this burger recipe somewhere on the internet. It's currently just in a notebook. But I will make patties and have like a really good indentation in the center. When I put them down, I'll put them down indentation up. And once that indentation fills up with liquid as like the kind of sides, as the sides cook, you notice that will actually darken in color because it will fill with liquid. And at that point, I'll flip it and then do the same time. Whatever that time was that it took to get there, I'll flip it and do the same time. And then they typically come out very, very well. Not well, like well done, but they do a good job cooking, and they're about where I want them to be. I do not have a creme brulee recipe. I may make one day, but it is not a priority for me because I am not a fan of creme brulee. It's sweet on top of sweet. And there is no textural difference. Like I know that brulee layer is supposed to give you a little bit of crunch, but it's not enough of a textural difference for me to really like it. The only creme brulee that I've ever had that I've liked was a Valencia orange creme brulee because it was a little bit tart and I appreciated the flavor profile, but I don't typically like creme brulees. You can't stop watching the timer. We've got 5.5 minutes left, friends. Coffee ice cream is yummy. I do not have okay. Technically, This is not fully a coffee ice cream recipe. I have a no-churn ice cream recipe for a Dublin mudslide ice cream. It's a Ben & Jerry's flavor that they discontinued. It was around when I was in college a decade ago. Ugh, that hurt. A decade ago, and then they got rid of it, and so I developed a recipe for it. They did bring it back, but I cannot currently get it in my city, so I still make my no-churn version of it. But that does have coffee liqueur in it. Does that count? And it does. It is all over. It is, and in every space that I possibly can, I was like, please do not make this for kids because it does have alcohol in it. It has Kahlua in it. It has Irish cream liqueur in it. It is not meant for kids, but if you do, or for anybody who is attempting to stay sober, we are not condoning this recipe or endorsing this recipe for that. But if you do, in fact, like your mudslide desserts, you've ever had this ice cream from Ben & Jerry's and you want a copycat version of it that is boozy, that recipe is a very good recipe. Up to you. But I do not have like a straight up coffee ice cream. Sounds nice. It is nice. It's delicious. Oh yeah. I'm so excited. I need my own channel, my own Twitch channel. I have my own Twitch channel. I've streamed on it once. I think I streamed a Thanksgiving. So what we used to do before I started doing this for YouTube, we would do cooking streams on his channel, which I'm obviously still doing here, but I also have YouTube going at the same time. So for those of you who are on Twitch, there is also a YouTube live going on simultaneously on my YouTube channel. So I do have a YouTube channel, but my Twitch channel is not currently being used. We used to go on, and anytime I was just like making something for a party or for a holiday or something like that, we would put on the camera and I would just cook, walk around the kitchen, talk about what I was doing. It was less formal than this is, if this can even be considered formal. And so there's like a whole Thanksgiving. I think we did 2 Thanksgivings. We streamed 2 Thanksgivings. Did the color just change on the camera? It did. It went really warm all of a sudden. We are almost crumbling. We have 2 minutes to there. It fixed it. I have no idea. We'll have to go into the camera internally and see why it's auto correcting for color. We've got less than 2 minutes before this comes out of the oven. And then with a little bit of cooling, we are going to scoop and do a little bit of a taste. Do I have a favorite dish to make? Yes. I really like anything that is monotonous. And so I really like making dumplings, and I really like making pierogi, which is they're just essentially dumplings from different cultures, right? So pierogi are Polish, and then either like some kind of Chinese pot sticker or like a Japanese gyoza. I really like kind of like having a, Ford T model kind of conveyor belt situation where you're kind of going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, and doing repetitive for like a very long time. It really is relaxing and I love it. So yeah, any of those are probably my favorite recipes to do over and over. Yep. When I had lavender hair.
Shout it out.
You can, but it won't matter. If I ever stream from that Twitch, maybe, yeah. Huh? No, because I have that handle. Why would I get rid of it? Yeah.
Fritos. Yeah.
Oh, is it really? So then I would probably, I probably have one. Look up my actual, with the underscores and see if you can find it. I think I have 2 of them, to be honest. Dumplings are worldwide. Italians have ravioli. Some Latinos have empanadas. Absolutely worldwide. Okay. Out she goes. And this is a granite countertop, so nothing will... I don't need anything. I don't need a trivet. I could have put a trivet down, but I don't technically need one. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So right now, if you touch this, if you decide, hey, what happens if I touch this? It's gonna be a little bit sandy. It's gonna feel kind of sandy. And that's because that butter is still really hot. As it kind of cools a little bit, it will kind of solidify that crisp topping a little bit more. And then obviously the stuff that's bubbling will also solidify a little bit more and gel up as it cools. Oh my God, it smells so good. Day 1 crisp completion. I was here. 0. Were you guys honestly following that countdown like that? Should I have counted down? 10, 9. Okay. Welcome back. To taking the crisp. Welcome back to taking the crisp out of the oven. If you jumped ahead in the video to this point, now all you have to do is let it cool for 10 to 15 minutes so that you don't burn the crap out of your mouth and so that everything sets correctly. And then you can just scoop this into a bowl, onto a plate. I will be doing that in just a couple minutes. I do need to let this cool. So we're gonna hang out for a little bit longer and then we'll timestamp that so that you can jump to that so you can see what it's supposed to look like. And then we will finish our video. I'm gonna get a spoon out for myself and a little bowl. I prefer putting crisps and crumbles and stuff into bowls just because it won't spread out. It won't spread out and then I don't have to like chase it around a plate. Aw, checks in the mail, Yeti. Carrie's cool enough, but the crumble needs to catch up. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. I don't want to wait. Yes. See now this is the unfair part, right? You guys are just chilling, hanging out at home, and you see it, but you can't smell it. And it smells really good, and there's nothing that I can do about it. I have to just sit here. Not gonna lie, I would burn my mouth. You would definitely burn your mouth if you ate this right now. I mean, I could take some out and you can see what it looks like before it fully sets for science. So I guess we can like do that right now. Let me try to get a corner of this into frame. There. Yeah, so it's still pretty wet and hasn't set all the way yet. You can see. There you go. So once we want that to set. So part of it is also like a textural thing because it hasn't fully set yet. It is quite hot. But it is also very tasty. Hi. No! Yeah, I really like the color. This like kind of like pink reddish something or other color that you get from the skins that you would not otherwise have. If I took the skins off and I had like just the yellow, it would just be like the yellow underneath. And that is traditionally what you see. Like I do appreciate that. Like if you look up a Nectarine Crumble or a Nectarine Crisp or Peach or whatever, a lot of them will do the blanching step so that you are strictly getting just the fruit and none of that peel. But I actually really like the peel. For science. Yeah, you gotta wait. You gotta wait because that's not fully set. You gotta wait. And it's not as good. But I'm 100% still gonna eat it. That's gonna be so hot. That is quite hot. Is this a meal that's even better the next day? Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those things that like the longer it sits, the more those flavors really just mix with each other and really meld together. And it kind of gets a little bit more complex the longer that it sits. But right out of the oven and obviously cooled a little bit, it's going to be like nice and fresh and bright. The flavor is going to be like fresh and bright, and then it'll kind of deepen the longer that it sits. Do you want sushi? Am I making it or are we getting it? Yeah. We're getting it? Yeah, we could do that if you want. I'm scared to eat this. Yum.
It's hot.
Yep. Didn't stop me though.
Not gonna stop me either.
It also hasn't set up all the way.
So we're eating.
No, you can eat. You can eat out of this. Yeah, we're eating it too early. You can eat out of this. Don't burn your mouth before you eat sushi. Then you can't taste the sushi. There you go. Yeah, so you can see like it didn't set, so it like all slid.
Yeah. How do I not weigh 400 pounds?
I don't make stuff like this that often. And like I said, I will portion this out when I freeze it. So we're only going to be like I guess imagine this, if you're looking at the nutritional information on the website, I just keep trying to think of things to like let everybody reference and like to reference and let everybody know about. I've listed this as a 12 serving recipe. So the nutritional information is based off of turning this into like 12 equal portions. So essentially if you like cut this kind of in 4 and then 3, you would get a portion. So you probably have like a nice big kind of chunk of it. Am I making the sushi? He said I wasn't making the sushi. So I'll do poke bowls quite often, and I'll do like a spicy salmon and do like a spicy crab mix with avocado and sushi rice. And we'll have like poke bowls. But it sounds to me like I will not be making that today. I did make sushi once a while back. I've made it before, but I made it for our daughter because she specifically requested sushi. And I was like, you got it. So I was like, I made a couple of sushi rolls. And she was like, I don't think I like the nori this way because it softens so much. A lot of the times when we make poke bowls, we'll just like kind of take spoonfuls of the like the bowl mixed up, and we'll take spoonfuls of it and like put it into nori and kind of use it as like a vessel. But she decided that she didn't like it that way. So I stopped making sushi. But it did turn out really well. We can. I mean, are we waiting to let it cool, or should I just? I mean, it's out. Just let it cool, and then you can serve it. I don't know what you wanna. I can do an outro. I mean, I feel like we've already been kind of standing here. We can just end it, and then like it's starting to do what it's supposed to do. Oh, this is actually not hot anymore, so that's fine, I guess. I'm sitting there using I was being safe in my kitchen. I don't know. Should we? I could just do the outro. Be like, hey, thanks for joining me. Wait for this to cool before you burn your mouth. I wish I could, but it's so much work. What is making poke? Nah. You got it. It's not. It takes what? If I have a rice cooker, so that makes it easier. It's maybe I'll get like a big piece of salmon and I will kind of pre-cut and portion that out and put it in the freezer. But like throwing together the sauces and then like mixing the salmon in it, I do that just before that goes in the bowl. Otherwise, it will actually like start to marinate and toughen that salmon up, and we don't want that to happen. The crispy, I'm looking at this and I said crispy. The spicy crab mix, you can buy crab from the store. I freeze that too. It takes as long as it takes to defrost. And I'll just essentially like blitz that in a food processor a little bit. I'll pulse it until it gets tiny pieces, and then throw in Kewpie mayo, throw in sriracha. Those two are done. Cut up an avocado. The rice gets cooked with salt and like a big thing of kombu. And then once it's out of the rice cooker, I'll do a 50-50 ratio of mirin and an unseasoned rice vinegar. And that gets mixed up in the rice. I think the whole meal takes maybe an hour. Doing every component, maybe. You could definitely do that. It's not hard. Have I ever made Korean army stew? No, I've not, but I will look it up. I'll take a look at it. Recipes are awesome. You're awesome. That's nice. Thanks. Okay, I'm going to continue to let this set. We're starting to set. I see it kind of thickening. And I am going to skedaddle. We'll go ahead and end it. We'll end the video. I'm going to just do an outro for like what would be the YouTube video. And then we can say goodbye in a much more informal way for the lives, for the people who are here live. Okay. I'm ready when you are. You ready? Thank you very much for joining me today while we make our Nectarine crisp here in the A Little Spoon kitchen. We are just going to let this set, and once we've let it cooled, we'll serve it, we'll eat it, we'll enjoy it. I think I have said previously, if you wanted to, you can put this in the refrigerator for up to 5 days without any issues. After that, you're going to want to freeze it. Once you freeze it, it's good for about 2 months in your freezer. You can reheat it in the microwave or in the oven. You can go to alittlespoon.com. That is the website if you want the full recipe with all of the notes. Or if you want the full recipe with a shortened, like a curtailed, truncated notes section, you can go to Instagram. My handle is @a_little_spoon. And if you want to be in the midst of all of this and kind of be part of the choice of what I am going to be cooking during a cooking stream, you want some behind the scenes action, you want to just talk to me about food on the regular, you can join my Patreon. I do have a minimum of $1 a month to join, but you can kind of do whatever segment up to that. I think I've given like $1, $5, $10, like that kind of a thing. And you can support this whole process and all of this content on a monthly basis. And you have access to my Discord, my private Discord server, which allows us to chat. And you will also have access to me once a month. We do a monthly Zoom call where we all just kind of talk about our lives, talk about food, any of those burning questions. It's a lot of fun. It's a great community. And it makes sure that I can keep doing what I'm doing and I can keep ads off of my website, which I think everybody loves. So you would be helping all of the other people that have to come to my website or want to come to my website and don't want to see any ads on it. I'm sure that they thank you very profusely. I will see you guys next time. We are doing another cook-along in July, and that one is going to be a Green Goddess pasta salad. It's delicious. It uses pearl couscous, which is actually a pasta. Not actually couscous, but it is a pasta, also known as Israeli couscous. Again, it is a pasta. And then we are going to roast up some root vegetables that go into it. It's got arugula, it's got a Green Goddess dressing, a little bit of bacon, a little bit of Parmesan, some sliced up tomatoes. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like, a big old party. It's super colorful, which is also really fun. Great for potlucks and picnics and things like that, especially since it's summer. I figured, why not? And that is actually going to be the second Sunday of the month. We haven't determined what time yet, but if you come back to this channel or you subscribe to this channel, you will see in our lives that it will get scheduled, and then you will have the exact time. I might already have an exact time in there just because it required one. That's probably what I'll stick to. So if you subscribe to this channel, if you like the channel, you can always come back at that time, and then you can do that cook along with me. If you missed this one, you are welcome to come in July and do that one. And that is the second Sunday of July. These are typically the first Sunday of July, but we had some trips and things that we had to work around. So it'll be the second Sunday in July for July, and then we'll go back to our first Sunday of the month in August. Thank you again. I know I just said a whole lot of things. It's a lot of information, but thank you again for joining me. And I hope to see you guys again in July. Bye.